Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. This is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. I believe this video's going up tomorrow night at, at 8 or 9. I think usually 9. I put it up at 9 p.m. and then there'll be a video on my Bakalaf's channel the next day and no video here. And then I'll continue on Saturday. Okay, so Trump is bowing before his masters, right? There's two places he goes regularly, or what, he's only gone to the Knesset once, so I shouldn't say regularly. But he went to the Knesset in Israel and bowed before them. And now he does it here at the World Economic Forum, where his handlers and masters are. And they don't seem to care that he is fucking up America. And it's part of a plan. And we're going to get into that. I think I'm going to interject some comments in here. This thing is an hour and 36 minutes long. So I was hoping to cover all of it, but that's just not happening. But let's see what he says. I think the beginning will be the part that we need to deal with here. All right, there you go. Walk over there, you fucking... All right.
Well, thank you very much, Larry. It's great to be back in beautiful Davos, Switzerland, and to address so many respected business leaders, so many friends, few enemies, and all of the
the fact that he has enemies, right? Like he talks about his enemies quite regularly. I covered all the aspects of the DSM 5's narcissistic personality disorder. And he has, he's the prototypical person. Like, he has just got all of it, right? And part of it is how, like somebody who has to brag a lot usually is not usually, has very low self-esteem, right? The more you have to brag, the more you have to tell people how great you are, the less you feel good about yourself, right? And so, that's like everyone kind of knows. They should know that, right? It's the bigger the front, the bigger the back kind of thing.
Distinguished guests. It's a who's who, I will say that. I've come to this year's World Economic Forum with truly phenomenal news from America.
Phenomenal.
Yesterday marked the one-year anniversary of my inauguration, and today, after 12 months back in the White House, our economy is booming, growth is exploding, productivity is surging, investment is soaring, incomes are rising, inflation has been defeated, our previously open and dangerous border is closed and virtually impenetrable, and the United States is in the midst of the fastest and most dramatic economic turnaround in our country's history.
Why does nobody else feel that way? Right? I mean, other than Trumpers, right, who listen to him and believe what he's saying. But no one else feels that way, right? Like not, whatever independence there is in any of this stuff. Like there's people who are really wealthy that Trump's going to make more wealthy. But it's, he's moving the wealth upwards. It's not, trickling down, right?
Under the Biden administration, America was plagued by the nightmare of stagflation, meaning low growth, and high inflation, a recipe for misery, failure, and decline.
He's really upset about Biden. I mean, like that senile fuck, is he even alive anymore? Like, and Trump, is still obsessed with the guy.
But now, after just 1 year of my policies, we are witnessing the exact opposite. Virtually no inflation and extraordinarily high economic growth. Growth like I believe you'll see very shortly our country has never seen before, perhaps no country has ever seen before. Over the past 3 months,
those are the same brags he always says. Like, this is the greatest in history. We've never seen these numbers before. He constantly says shit like that, right? And it's never true.
Inflation has been just 1.6%. Meanwhile, fourth quarter growth is projected to be 5.4%, far greater than anybody other than myself and a few others had predicted.
Okay, so let's see what I'm gonna have to go into the see when he starts talking about Greenland and these other things. So again, we're seeing this here. Let's go through this quickly again. Grandiose sense of self-importance. This is DSM-5, a narcissistic personality disorder. Overestimating their capabilities or holding themselves to unreasonable standards, bragging or exaggerating their achievements, frequent fantasies about deserving success, power, intelligence, beauty, love, self-fulfillment, belief in superiority, thinking they're special or unique, believing they should associate only with those they see worthy, need for admiration, fragile self-esteem, frequent self-doubt, self-criticism, or emptiness, preoccupation with knowing what others think of them, fishing for compliments, entitlement, inflated sense of self-worth, expected favorable treatment to an unreasonable degree, anger when people don't cater or appease them, willingness to exploit others, consciously or unconsciously using others, forming friendships or relationships with people who boost their self-esteem or status, deliberately taking advantage of others for selfish reasons, lack of empathy, saying things that might hurt others, seeing the feelings, needs, or desires of others as a sign of weakness, not returning kindness or interest that others show, frequent envy, feeling envious of others, especially others who are successful, expecting envy from others, belittling or diminishing the achievements of others, arrogance, patronizing behavior, behaving in a way of snobby or disdainful, taking down or acting condescendingly. All right, so this is Donald Trump in a nutshell, right? Like this, lots of people have all the. We live in a narcissistic time where people, for the most part, are not living the life they're designed to live, and so they are, they feel bad about it. Like most people who are not congruent with their soul and their soul's path develop some sort of narcissistic tendencies because there's an imbalance, right? There is an incongruity. So there's, we live in a narcissistic society, very superficial, very, all these things. We know about this. And Trump is the poster child for this, right? So 23 minutes and 45 seconds, some of it he was walking across the stage. So 22 minutes into this speech, he starts going in on Greenland.
Look, I am derived from Europe, Scotland and Germany. 100% Scotland, my mother. 100% German, my father.
100% Scottish. It's Scottish, bro. Holy shit. I hear he calls. I saw something today. There was somewhere headline that he says Iceland instead of Greenland 4 times. But he started losing shit, right? Because he said 100% Scotland. It's Scottish, right? Like Scottish.
And we believe deeply in the bonds we share with Europe as a civilization. I want to see it do great. That's why issues like energy, trade, immigration, and economic growth must be central concerns to anyone who wants to see a strong and united West. Because Europe and those countries have to do their thing. They have to get out of the culture that they've created over the last 10 years. It's horrible what they're doing to themselves. They're destroying themselves. It's beautiful, beautiful places.
Okay, so they're not going to want to be hearing this, right?
We want strong allies, not seriously weakened ones. We want Europe to be strong. Ultimately, these are matters of national security, and perhaps no current issue makes the situation more clear than what's currently going on with Greenland. Would you like me to say a few words of Greenland?
No.
I was going to leave it out of the speech, but I thought.
And so apparently it goes on for like 22 minutes. According to a comment, he goes into this is about a third of his speech. It's just on Greenland.
I think I would have been reviewed very negatively. I have tremendous respect for both the people of Greenland and the people of Denmark. Tremendous respect. But every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact is, no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States.
It's not insecure. Like it's not. You know, Russia has America and Canada between itself and Greenland, right? And China has all of Europe and all these other countries, right? Like, I mean, all of Africa. I mean, all these things that are between Greenland and or on one side and America on the other. So it's not like they're neighbors to Greenland. They can't go and invade. I mean, to get their naval vessels over to Greenland is a. I mean, they don't have army bases in Europe or America or Canada, right? Although Canada and China are starting to hook up because of Trump, and there's a TPUSK video about it.
We're a great power, much greater than people even understand. I think they found that out 2 weeks ago in Venezuela.
Apparently, TPUSK is suing Candace Owens, so we're going to get to them later.
Well, we saw this in World War II when Denmark fell to Germany after just 6 hours of fighting and was totally unable to defend either itself or Greenland.
Did Germany claim Greenland when that happened? Like, Greenland's still far away. Like, Germany wasn't after Greenland. And, that's World War II, and Germany is now an ally, a part of the European Union and the whole thing. So this isn't, I mean, like, just not relevant at all.
So the United States was then compelled, we did it, we felt an obligation to do it, to send our own forces to hold the Greenland territory. And hold it we did, at great cost and expense. They didn't have a chance of getting on it, and they tried. Denmark knows that.
Denmark knows that Germans were trying to get Greenland.
We literally set up bases on Greenland for Denmark. We fought for Denmark. We weren't fighting for anyone else. We were fighting to save it for Denmark. Big, beautiful piece of ice. It's hard to call it land. It's a big piece of ice. But we saved Greenland and successfully.
Okay, so why is it important then? Why do you want a big piece of ice? Why do you want it, right? And, Denmark has said, these various people have said, they're open to American companies coming in and developing resources. So, this is just Trump cutting them out of any percentage of ownership, right? Which, the European countries and every other country that's allied with the United States, including Canada, is seeing like, this isn't going to be a good idea for them, right? Like what Trump's doing. If they let him get Greenland, then what he's going to take next, right? Like the guy's he'll put his big ass Trump name on everything.
They prevented our enemies from gaining a foothold in our hemisphere. So we did it for ourselves also.
Yeah, we're totally altruistic except for when we're not, right?
And then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps.
That's probably my favorite Trump quote ever. Like, let's just hear that again. I gotta go back here.
After the war, we gave.
Go back here a little bit.
Hemisphere, so we did it for ourselves also. And then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps.
That's amazing fucking Trump moment there. I had friends in college, my second attempt at college, and that went to England, and one friend who went with a bunch of American guys from my age group, their 20s, and they were getting drunk in England, and they started to yell, "Without us, you'd all be speaking German," which is a common American sentiment that, we saved Europe and these countries because America became Europe's military. Like there was financial considerations done, making America the world reserve currency and these things, because they were tired of fighting wars, and America was this massive country with all these immigrants, desperate people that needed to make their way in the world and were willing to, the poor people of America who were willing to fight wars. We glorified our military. It was a whole thing, right? It's a complex situation, and my grandfather fought in both World War I and World War II, and I wouldn't take credit for that, right? I don't take credit for, personally, the American military, right? Like if you served in the military, and it's glorified, but it's not. I mean, they say thank you for your service. So I should have said thank you for your service. Let's go back and do that again. Let's just here.
One, we want it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps.
Thank you for your service. I butchered that, but it had to be done. So there's this attitude, but Trump has nothing to do with it. Trump has zero to do with the military. I don't think anybody in his family served in the military. And even if they did, that's not your accomplishment. Like your grandfather's accomplishments, your family's accomplishments, you can build off of, but everybody has to start from scratch as a person. You don't, like, there's tendencies that you have genetically that can help you, right? But you just because your dad was a great athlete doesn't mean that you get to live off his laurels, right? Like, in fact, oftentimes kids live in the shadows of the greatness of their ancestors or their failures. They stick with them. But when your grandparents and parents are failures and you succeed, then there's less stress about it, right? You're trying to compete with I mean, look at the show Succession and these shows and all these things. You're competing with your dad who was a great king or something, or a great person, or your mom or whatever. And so, it has nothing to do with you, right? And all of Americans who grow up now, what we did in World War II has nothing to do with us. I mean, personally, like America itself, yeah, sure. But there was deals made to make America into the economic power that it is. We had to pay the price of our sacrifice in our youth for military endeavors. That was like part of the deal. Europe has been very warlike for years. They were tired of fighting wars. Like after a while, you get complacent, like America is now. American youth does not have a taste for war, other than video games and shit like that. They can fly drones, but they're not very physical, right? These kids who grow up on the internet, they don't have these physical experiences and whatever it takes to fight in a military type situation, or be in a battlefield, to be out there with fucking the stress and the life threatening elements and the sacrifice and the physical strain it takes to be in a war, right? So, but you can't say shit like that. Like, it's funny, and I don't like. 4 years ago, this would have made me happier. But you just can't say shit like that. Everything's like hanging by a thread. And I know that our system's going down one way or another, and Trump is just a catalyst for some kind of divine plan of a collapse of an economic system that is taking humanity in the wrong direction. I talk about that all the time. But you just can't say shit like that, right?
After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that?
Who are you saying we? Like there's fucking, what was it? Like was Joe Biden in charge of that? Like every president before you? Like, I mean, because why? They didn't know there was fucking minerals and shit in there? They didn't know there's rare earth minerals and shit that they're going to need for computers that hadn't been developed years later?
We did it, but we gave it back.
Okay, so we didn't occupy Greenland. I mean, I'm not going to go through the history of Greenland, but I know this isn't true because Trump is saying it. Like, and they know it's not true. Like, they know this stuff is, I mean, Trump's got a hard on for Greenland, whatever reason he does economically. There's Pressure from Israel. Who knows what where this is all coming from for Trump? He gets fixated on things, but he's just he's glomming all the resources, the places that have valuable resources, because everyone knows the currencies are going to suffer hyperinflation. Like, he just bragged about how the economy's going, but the economy isn't going that well if you need to grab hard assets, which is precious metals and any kind of other oil, anything like this. And that's what Trump is going after, like in Venezuela with the oil and their rare earth minerals and all these other things. And so, I mean, everyone knows that they're not fucking stupid. Like, they know this isn't about anything to do with security or any of these other things.
Ungrateful are they now? So now our country.
They're totally ungrateful so many years later. Like, I mean, that happened. What is that? Like 80 years ago, World War, like something like 85 years ago when this transpired.
And the world face much greater risks than it did ever before because of missiles, because of nuclear, because of weapons of warfare that I can't even talk about.
I can't even talk about them. They're so secret.
2 weeks ago, they saw weapons that nobody ever heard of. They weren't able to fire one shot at us. They said, what happened? Everything was discombobulated. They said, we've got them in our sights. Press the trigger, and nothing happened. No anti-aircraft missiles went up. There was one that went up about 30 feet and crashed down right next to the people that sent it.
Wait, you just said none of them went up.
They said, what the hell is going on? Those defensive systems were made by Russia and by China. So they're going to go back to the drawing boards, I guess.
Yeah, so just tell them, like, let them know what we have so they can develop something to counteract it. That's fucking smart.
Greenland is a vast, almost entirely uninhabited and.
Wait, what do you say there? I missed it.
So they're going to go back to the drawing boards, I guess. Greenland is a vast, almost entirely uninhabited and undeveloped territory that's sitting undefended in a key strategic location between the United States, Russia, and China. That's exactly where it is, right smack in the middle.
Of Russia, China, and... Okay, so just because you might not know geography, let's go fucking dispel this right here. So I don't know why I can't make this any smaller. I don't know where, this is, what's this thing here? This is Greenland. Here's Europe. I mean, Greenland's massive, right? And it's an iced up place. Here's Iceland, which has glaciers or has geysers, and then here is Russia over here, right? Like, they're not, I mean, this is all Canada here, right? So, I mean, I guess Russia can come up here through, these ice-infested waters. Like, this is where there's all these icebergs and all that shit. Alaska, I mean, look at how close Alaska and Greenland are. I mean, Russia. China's down here, right? China's over here. I can see where it's right here. There's Russia here, right? I don't know why can't I see China? China's right here. And so China's nowhere near it, and Russia has to come up here. Like, this is all iceberg infested waters and go around Canada here. I mean, all the way up through here. This is all Canada. I mean, Canada is probably would be more like the more, would be more closely related to Greenland in terms of their proximity. America's down here, like, we have to go through Canada up in here, but we're closer here. And this is the part that's inhabitable. I don't know where all the minerals and things are. But for him to say that Russia is right in the center of Russia and China, here's Russia, China over this way. So this is Russia here. And Europe is blocking their access to Greenland here. And so only through, I mean, a treacherous ocean, like the North Pole's up here, right? So only a treacherous ocean voyage, and that's so it's not accurate what he's saying. It's not. It's really closer to Europe, especially this part here. This is where there's we have the Gulf Stream here. So warm water comes up through the Gulf Stream here. I mean, see how fucking massive Greenland is. It's really just part of the North Pole. I mean, look at the fucking size of Greenland. It's much bigger than America and Canada. I mean, all of Europe and all this stuff. But nobody's there because it's uninhabitable. Like, most of it's frozen. They have permafrost. And so the Gulf Stream comes up here and then goes up to Europe and keeps Europe warm. Otherwise, they would all be like, fucking, this whole area would be frozen. I mean, these countries are really cold here, right? Norway, Sweden, and Finland, Denmark, and then it's a little bit warmer here for these countries. But see how farther north Europe is than America. Think about how fucking cold it is up in Maine, right? And we have the Gulf Stream comes up through America than up here, right? It's faster to sail back to England because you get the Gulf Stream waters. And so Ireland is farther north than Maine, right? So, like, you have to go down to Spain and Portugal and Italy and Greece to get some warm weather there. And those, in terms of the longitude and latitude here, I guess the latitude or the longitude, it would be in the middle of America, right? Like, so you see how much farther south Florida is than these places. So this is, if the Gulf Stream goes, this place is a block of ice, right? This all becomes uninhabitable. This is part of like when they have we have like these ice ages, right? And this is all this freezes up, all of Europe. They don't have anything. It's just there's a band here where you have some level of America, these other places. The Gulf Stream, the warm waters from the Gulf Stream, it's what keeps Europe from freezing up. But anyways, what Trump is saying here is not accurate. Like, Russia's all the way fucking over here, and China is all the way over here. And so Greenland is pretty much as far away as you can get. Right? It takes a long time to go ocean voyages, and you have to have a specific type of ships and submarines to get over there, right? And where Russia has the kind of cities and stuff that are in Russia, they don't have a lot of stuff here, right? This is where the central part of Russia is, because this is all fucking frozen too. This is all like this is like where Alaska is, right? They have similar weather to Alaska. It's this fucking cold ass place here, and this is very close to the North Pole. But anyways, he's not, because Trump just makes shit up.
So they're going to go back to the drawing boards, I guess. Greenland is a vast, almost entirely uninhabited and undeveloped territory. It's sitting undefended in a key strategic location between the United States, Russia, and China. That's exactly where it is, right smack in the middle. Wasn't important nearly when we gave it back. When we gave it back, it wasn't the same as it is now.
Because we didn't know it had a bunch of fucking resources there.
Not important for any other reason, everyone talks about the minerals. There's so many places. There's no rare earth, no such thing as rare earth. There's rare processing, but there's so much rare earth. And to get to this rare earth, you got to go through hundreds of feet of ice. That's not the reason we need it. We need it for strategic national security.
Strategery.
And
they know that's not the case. Like, you don't care about anything that isn't profitable. I mean, that's the bottom line. This has nothing to do, because we have military bases there, and we have easier access, and Canada's there as well. And Canada has a top 20 military, right? And so this isn't like Russia and China are somehow gonna win a strategic war by. It's like the game of Risk. Like, all your fucking pieces are over in Russia and China. Like, you're trying to control control Asia, and you got one piece over in Greenland, right? It's not going to, he knows this. They all fucking know this. Like, he said this isn't even part of his speech. He's not reading, and his mind isn't good. And he just thinks he can just lie about shit And these people are like, what, too stupid to know that this isn't about resources?
International security. This enormous unsecured island is actually part of North America, on the northern frontier of the Western Hemisphere. That's our territory.
You mean Canada? Like, if it's anything, it's Canada.
It is therefore a core national security interest of the United States of America. And in fact, it's been our policy for hundreds of years to prevent outside threats from entering our hemisphere, and we've done it very successfully. We've never been stronger than we are now. That's why American presidents have sought to purchase Greenland for nearly 2 centuries. You know, for 2 centuries they've been trying to do it.
2 centuries they've tried to purchase, except when we had it during World War II, which was less than 1 century ago. Right? What are you talking about? Like, your story is already fucking, like, he just keeps on fucking burying himself in his own bullshit, right? If we had it and we gave it back, so.
Should have kept it after World War II, but they had a different president. That's all right. People think differently. Much more necessary now than it was at that time, however. In 2019, Denmark said that they would spend over $200 million to strengthen Greenland's defenses. But as you know, they spent less than 1% of that amount. 1%. There's no sign of Denmark there. And I say that with great respect for Denmark, whose people I love, whose leaders are very good. It's the United States alone that can protect this giant mass of land, this giant piece of ice, develop it and improve it, and make...
Develop it and improve it. So, why would you want to develop it? We just want to throw American dollars into developing Greenland? Or is there money for you to grift on? Or are there resources that you can grift on?
It so that it's good for Europe and safe for Europe and good for us. And that's the reason I'm seeking immediate negotiations to once again discuss the acquisition of Greenland by the United States, just as we have acquired many other territories throughout our history, as many of the European nations have. They've acquired. There's nothing wrong with it. Many of...
You mean colonization. So the problem is, there's no price that they would set, right? Like, there's no price. They don't want to sell. Like, you're trying to force somebody to sell something. It's like you went in, your neighbor has acreage, and you're like, well, you can't defend your acreage. Your poor neighbor is struggling financially or something, and you're trying to force them to sell off some of their land, and you're like, doing it with, like, bullying tactics, right?
Of them, some went in reverse, actually, if you look. Some had great, vast wealth, great, vast lands all over the world. They went in reverse. They're stuck back where they started. That happens, too.
Looking at you, England.
But some grow. But this would not be a threat to NATO. This would greatly enhance the security of the entire alliance, the NATO alliance. The United States is treated very unfairly by NATO. I want to tell you that. And when you think about it, nobody can dispute it. We give so much and we get so little in return. And I've been a critic of NATO for many years. And yet I've done more to help NATO than any other president.
I am. I'm a critic of it, but I give of American taxpayer money to it because that's the kind of guy, that's the way I roll.
Before than any other person. You wouldn't have NATO if I didn't get involved in my first term. The war with Ukraine is an example. We are thousands of miles away, separated by a giant ocean. It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a...
Okay, so do you think this is a good idea to go talk about how unstable it is in fucking America? How our elections can be easily rigged? Like, this is fucking moronic. Like, this is self-sabotageable because Trump is only going to be around for 2 more years, whatever his term is, and maybe not even that. Like, he's losing his shit. And after that, who knows which way this is going to go. I can't imagine we're going to have a J.D. Vance presidency, but there's not going to be any MAGA. Like, the MAGA is going to be destroyed. It's already fucking crumbling, right? And there's going to be a, backlash to it. I mean, this is what I was trying to say yesterday with Megyn Kelly and all these pieces of shit out there. When you go extreme, then there's an extreme reaction. So everything's going to go extreme to the left again when Trump is gone. And it's already in the process. He's going to get, humbled in the midterms. And even if he wasn't, he's done after that. And, Trump is the only person that can hold this coalition together of Republican fucking, predators and venomous creatures who will be at each other's throats, which we've already seen happen. Like once Trump is gone, they'll implode, just like the Democrats imploded after the whole debacle with Kamala Harris. It's only the other side sucking that saves the party. The Democrats suck so bad that Trump was reelected. Trump sucks so bad that the Democrats will put a piece of shit in the White House. Like it just goes back and forth, and it gets more and more extreme. And to say to these people, you're all depending on America, and we're unstable as fuck, and we had an election that was rigged, and that almost brought down the whole fucking globe. And by the way, don't make a deal with China, right? Europe can just say fuck you and make a deal with China. Like China's an up and comer, and they can get a better. They're already in the process of doing that. Canada's in the process of doing that. He's pushing them towards China, and saying like this is how arbitrary, and we're just going to steal your land. I'm going to bully you, and then in 4 years you're going to have to deal with a completely different administration. That's going to be and then who knows what's going to happen after that, right? I mean, so it's just basically saying we're unstable and crazy as fuck, and you guys, we're going to just fucking fuck around with you guys. It's going to go back and forth every 4 years, whatever it is, right?
Rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be.
It's just like this is not a fucking stable person, right? This is not somebody. This is the kind of thing that makes markets tumble. I mean, there's been a Trump exception where people have like allowed this guy to just go fucking full ape, right? Like he's just a Neanderthal up there.
It's a rigged election. Can't have rigged elections. You need strong borders, strong elections, and ideally a good press. I always say it. Strong borders, strong elections, free, fair elections, and a fair media. The media is terrible. It's very crooked. It's very biased.
So, complaining about how fucked up America is and then saying, hey, give us Greenland or else. Fuck. This is classic Trump. He's fucking losing his shit.
Terrible. But someday it'll straighten out because it's losing all credibility. Think of it. When I went in a landslide, a giant landslide, won all 7 swing states, won the popular vote, won everything, and they only get negative.
Like, these people aren't fucking stupid. These are people who are, sophisticated and educated, and, these are elite level fucking minds and people who are part of this. And, not praising these people, but these aren't dumb fucks. These aren't right-wing fucking dumb fucks who are desperate to make America great again, who are panicked about what they're seeing. Trump's support sees that their world is crumbling. The world that they grew up in, like, all of us in our generation see that to whatever extent, and then people on the right see that the liberalism is setting in. And we saw what happened with Biden, all this stuff that was happening with, the trans agenda and all these kind of things, which Europe is fully embraced, right? Europe is more liberal and more, they're not Christian. These aren't these, right-wing Christian people who are desperate to save what America used to be, make America great again. Like these people aren't that. And what they see is this guy trying to grab their country and being a complete fucking cowboy and being dumb as fuck and then just telling them a bunch of shit that they know isn't true. And he shouldn't even be saying this. Like, it's just not fucking, it's uncouth, right?
Press. That means that it has no credibility. And if they're going to get credibility, they're going to have to be fair. So you need a fair press. But you also need those other elements. And I inherited a terrible, terrible situation. If you look, the border was open. The inflation was raging.
Again, sounds like a you problem. Like, this is not European issues. why would you be saying this? Like, why the fuck would you say this kind of stuff?
Everything was bad with the United States when I came into office. But I also inherited a mess with Ukraine and Russia, something that would have never happened. And I know Putin very well. He and I would discuss Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye, but he wasn't going to do anything. I said, Vladimir, you're not doing it. He would never have done it. It was terrible what happened. I could see it happening, too. After I left, I could see it happening.
You could, like the rest of us who watch the news.
Biden had given Ukraine and NATO $350 billion, a staggering sum, $350 billion. I came in, and just like the southern border, just like inflation, just like our economy, I said, wow, this place is in trouble, meaning our country. All of these things were out of control.
Out of control. Like, America almost crumbled financially. Our fucking media is an absolute mess, and our elections are rigged, and our culture is fucked. Hey, give us Greenland fucking now or else, right? Like, this is fucking just a disaster what he's doing here. Like, and I love this kind of stuff because I'm apocalyptic. Like, I understand, only from a personal standpoint do I not want the apocalypse. Like, just the rest, like all of us. Like, living through that's fucking a nightmare. I mean, giving up all of our routines and our habits and our lifestyle and whatever it means, whatever this thing's going to be. Changing, especially at my age, right? Like all of us have our personal reaction to it. Like our own fear of like, oh, what happens when the grocery stores are empty or we can't put gas in our car? Like, there's missiles flying over our fucking heads, like all this stuff. Whatever it means, like whatever happens with, the end of America, the end of, our current system, all these things. But I know it's God's will. I know it's for the best, right? And, part of me just, relishes this shitty system that I've always kind of known was shitty. There's something off here, right? Like some, horror movie where everybody's happy and partying. And then you go down, there's a freezer full of human bodies, like whatever kind of thing is. Like these things, you see these movies where somebody is like, this isn't right. This is, there's some kind of something wrong here. There's something they're hiding, right? Like, you see these kind of movies, TV shows, episodes of like, I don't know, Star Trek or something where, everything seems fine, but you know there's something off. And I've known that my whole life with America. Like, it's just something, that's not right. And so, having that validated is great, but, the cost of our material lives is pretty steep. And so, so I kind of like these things or not. It's a mixed feeling, right? And I think it is for everybody. A sense of relief because, the truth is finally coming out, but the truth will take down the system. The system can't live with the truth. The truth and the system can't cohabitate, right? And so the truth is coming out, not because he's honest, but because he's the epitome of everything that's wrong. And he's just verbalizing something that most people have this good common sense not to say out fucking loud, right? Most leaders.
Control. But the border was out of control. We fixed it with the strongest border anywhere in the world.
How do these fucking people at World Economic Forum give a shit about that?
I've now been working on this war for 1 year, during which time I settled 8 other wars. India, Pakistan. I settled other wars that were.
Say something about the Nobel Peace Prize, please.
Vladimir Putin called me, Armenia, Azerbaijan. He said, I can't believe you settled that one. They were going on for 35 years. I settled it in 1 day. And President Putin called me. He said, I can't believe I've worked on that war for 10 years trying to settle it. I couldn't do it. I said, do me a favor, focus on settling your war. Don't worry about that one.
That was how that conversation went? You and Vlad?
What does the United States get out of all of this work, all of this money, other than death, destruction, and massive amounts of cash going to people who don't appreciate what we do? They don't appreciate what we do. Talking about NATO, I'm talking about Europe. They have to work on Ukraine. We don't. The United States is very far away. We have a big, beautiful ocean separating us. We have nothing to do with it.
But I thought they were right there in Greenland. I thought Russia was like just right there, China and Russia, America on one side, China and Russia on the other side, right there in Greenland.
Until I came along, NATO was only supposed to pay 2% of GDP, but they weren't paying. Most of the countries weren't paying anything. The United States was paying for virtually 100% of NATO.
That's not true, and they all know it. Like, he's in fucking Europe, and they know this. They all fucking know that that isn't true. They say it all the time. Like, they know he lies, and they're always fact checking him. And, like, and he keeps on doing it. Like, so, like, when you're this fucking powerful, as America is, and you got a guy who's just delusional and showing he's delusional, they're looking at this guy like as a Hitler, like as this is how they see him. Like, this is, he's trying to take our shit, and, he's trying to go back on these deals, and he's makes shit up, and he gaslights and bullies, and they're not fucking stupid. These are older countries. America's a new country. I mean, it's a puppy. Like, it's a fucking, it's a young, adolescent. We're in our adolescence, right? And so these ancient countries, these countries that have been all through this shit, they've seen it before. They've seen these things come and go. American presidencies and American political movements. Remember the fucking Tea Party that, it's become MAGA? There's these things that come and go, and the liberal stuff and all these different people and the rise, people get upset and they get pissed off at the current leadership and they're looking for answers and they can't think for themselves. Like, they all know this shit, right? Like, this is a drop in the bucket. They just have to endure 2 more years of this piece of shit. They're not stay as much intact as possible. And then they have another whole other, then they have to deal with the next Democratic leadership. At some point, they're like, fuck this guy, fuck America. Because this is what you're sending out there. Like, Joe Biden was a fucking disaster. And now you're sending this guy, right, again? And they're like, this is, the guy was saying that democracy in America is broken and the media is broken and the economy was the borders and all this shit. Like, America was that much of a mess. And we're depending on you guys, right? Like, you're fucking unstable. You just said how unstable you are. And you want fucking Greenland now after what you just did in Venezuela? So this isn't, I mean, at some point there's going to be like a world uniting against this piece of shit, right? Like, he doesn't fucking know. He runs shit into the ground. There's a reason he went bankrupt 6 fucking times, right?
And I got that stopped. I said, that's not fair. But then, more importantly, I got NATO to pay 5%, and now they were paying, and now they are paying. So something nobody said was possible. They said, we will never go up higher than 2%. But they went to 5%, and now they're paying the 5. They didn't pay the 2, and now they're paying the 5. And they're stronger for it, and they have an excellent, by the way, Secretary General, who's possibly in the room. Mark, are you here? Yes, he's here. Hello.
Jesus fucking Christ. He's lost his shit. I want to read some comments now and then come back to this. So, I was covering. Okay, so, you'll experience this in your life. To those of you listening to this in the Journey series, this is about Trump addressing the Davos World Economic Forum and just what a disaster he is. And before I get in the comments, there's things that you're going to see in other people's lives and your own where there is a period where you can change your destiny. You have your destiny and you can change it or minimize it. Like, let's say you're an alcoholic, you're a gambling addict, right? But there's a point where, like, you just fucked up your life so bad, your body's riddled with whatever drugs and alcohol and whatever it might be. You're going to have health-related issues. Your lifespan's going to be cut short. You're going to, whatever it is. Like, you've gone past the point of no return. And that's where America is now. Like, there's no, the doomsday can't be prevented. And I don't know when that point happened, where there couldn't be some sort of change. But I can see it very clearly now with the consciousness level of the people, right? The people that are here. I experience people who are just saints, like obviously had past lives as higher developed souls, certainly the masters of the Sizemore system, at least the one that I experienced, Master Charge, like being in his presence and seeing his, experiencing his level of consciousness. Like when you're with your dogs, like they say, for example, Judas goats. Sheep are stupider than goats, and so they'll follow goats, right? And the goats will follow humans. Humans will train them, and the goats will lead the sheep to slaughter, right? And so people look up to people who are higher than them. They get a sense of, oh, these people are more evolved. These people are, whatever it is, like they're smarter. They're whatever they are. That they're above where I am, right? There's spiritual evolution in human beings. It's quite a vast, I don't know what you call it, arena or realm of your consciousness and how far you can go to be as high as you can be spiritually, and then where you can go to descend into your lowest egotistical, just golem-like, disgusting, just gross, demonic person that you can be, right? The lowest in terms of your selfishness, in terms of your mental depravity, in terms of de-evolution, right? In terms of your idiocracy, the lowest, dumbest part, the dumbest piece of shit you can be, and the most spiritually selfless, serving God, maximum fully developed potential is quite extraordinary. Like there's, it was said in the Sizemore system, the difference between where most people are and the highest developed human being that's ever lived, right? The highest, in terms of spirituality, a fully realized, actualized person that's reached their maximum spiritual potential. The difference between that person, the average person, and that person is greater, 1,000 times greater than the difference between the average person and an amoeba. Like you think about these amoeba and these very, like one-celled organisms. Have you ever seen, amoeba through a telescope? So there's a vast range of spiritual possibilities for people. And so in terms of where we are collectively, it's very close to the beginning of our collective journeys. There's just a spiritual immaturity. And like I'm well aware of this, like just in terms of all of it. My own experiences with people who are, advanced spiritually, my own personal journey from whatever I've done in the past lives, and certainly in this life, meditating for 24,000 hours or whatever, and the advantage of the Sizemore system. And, that's why I understand there needs to be like an evolutionary movement, a genetic mutation, and people have to rise up to a completely different higher level, leaving, the modern day human being and what we are now behind as some kind of a monkey, like we're, like we're an orangutan or some shit, like that, to what people are going to be in the future, like we have to leave behind. And people don't want to do that. Like they don't want to move forward in their evolutionary journey. So that's been the problem with humanity. And Trump is like, he's just some ape out there with his, like, and again, people who are smarter than him, and there's many of us who are more evolved than him, can see through his little narcissistic bullshit, right? And there are a lot of dumb fucks who look up to him like he's some kind of, spirit, some kind of materialistic god for them that's going to grant them their wish of making America great again. It's not going to happen. So, I want to there's a couple comments I want to read that are a part of this. So this one I wanted to it's going to kind of reverse the comments before the ones I'm about to read. Thank you, Paul. It's beyond frustrating to watch a manufactured personality like Candace Owens, play that Kay Gribbs video, literally 2 decades old truth or content, and act like she's bringing it to the public. And so that's been the problem with Candace Owens that people don't understand. And I'm not talking about just her. It's people who are, we built something. All of us old school truthers. And, people ahead of us, like my brother, again, not taking credit for my brother's accomplishments, a former Vietnam vet, but he had influence over me in terms of these things. There was a truth community that no one was a part of. It was a small percentage of people in America who knew about these narratives. Like it was conversations people would have in bars, or some AM radio stations would flirt with these things, and newsletters like this, conspiracy theorist movie with Mel Gibson, right? Which whatever it's called, conspiracy theory, but which is loaded with this stuff. But it was around for so many years, and then the internet, it blossomed, and those of us who created this, idea that this was a controlled system, that all of us who dived into this, and some of us had the bigger solution, very few of us, which was spiritual. Like I think maybe the only person that talks about it in this way, and an actual spiritual system that exists for this very purpose, right? To combat the materialistic decline of our common human, consciousness. And so you had all these people that got censored and just, they couldn't do it anymore. Like they quit, some of them died, whatever it was. And they weren't the best. I mean, you could argue with them over things. We didn't all share the same beliefs. But it was far better than these bullshit motherfuckers that are out there, like Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan and the rest of these shitty little truthers like Jimmy Dore and some of these other people, who are taking something that we build and making it dumber, right? It's like when Jesus died and, what happened in my Sage Mark system, where you take something that's of a higher nature and you dumb it down for dumb fucks and you just prostitute the thing, right? It make it, not good anymore. And I've had two things I've seen happen to in my life, the truth community and my Sage Mark meditation, and it's painful to watch. Because something that was great is now, which was most people couldn't rise up to, gets watered down and, changed in a more degraded, gross way, and then made acceptable and palatable for dumb fucks, people who aren't very evolved, right? And you need things that are there to bring the higher people up, and then they can bring the lower people up. Like that's just how it has to be on a spiritual level. But then you get something that's higher, and it's there, and it's benefiting people who are, aspire to be something better, so at least on a spiritual level, certainly material as well. And then it gets turned into something that's gross and lower, and then keeps on getting worse over time. It's depreciating, right? So when someone like Candace Owens comes in and takes stuff that was around for a long time and then shows it off like she just discovered it, and these dumb fucks follow her, it's all about her and her ego, which I mean, it's very problematic. It's the same thing with Trump. What she's been, this is a person's comment again. What she's been in the truth community, not really, but she says she is for 5 minutes while calling all of us conspiracy theorists for 6 years ago at the same time, saying Trump's changed. No, he was always like this now. Like I covered this in my thing, where she said Trump is, I just covered this in my. This is before. This is to a video. Let me see if I can find a. I cut off the title in the video there. This is Candace Owens. Source say JFK and Charlie killed by the same families evolve or go extinct. This is a video I put up yesterday. The one Candace Melania Schill nightmare and Trump is a five-star alarm. You still think libs and Republicans are the problem, and I'm going to go add a question mark there, which I meant to do and forgot to do, because I can't put it in the title. I can't save it with a question mark on my, you get the idea. But I actually address what this person's saying in the comment about how she said Trump is now deep state, but then before she was, before she was, he just turned deep state, right? Like it's silly. And then the person says, I have some theories that Owens and Carlson have purposely been placed in the forefront of this community that was built up years ago before they knew about it. Albert Pike style. Meanwhile, authentic researchers have been banned, shadow multiple times while these fake alternatives are pushed in the algorithm. Yeah, I saw that. Like, I saw this happening for, for years. Like, it just, all these people were, were just bullied by YouTube to quit, one way or another, and there was infighting. I mean, all these things. And then they brought in the flat earthers and the cubies, and it went to the right wing. And Alex Jones, who, has always been a shill, used to have quality guests on. His show wasn't anything like it is now, and he didn't like lose his shit as much. And he always sucked, but he's much worse now. And this whole thing that happened, right? So I've been covering this lately about how the truth community has, gotten shittier. I mean, it's de-evolving. It's going in the wrong fucking direction. And I already, discussed my spiritual organization. So I got these comments. The first one is, this is to Candace News Source, says, the same video. You all think after getting proven wrong time and time again that Candace knows what she's doing but kept talking shit, buddy. Your growth is palatable. I don't think he meant to use the word growth. I don't know what word he meant to use. Your growth is palatable? No, really. And then a person says, who has been proven wrong about what? Elaborate. No, really. See, this person's trying to link me into all the other, what they consider Candace haters. And that's what Candace has done with her audience. And again, this isn't about Candace. This is about all of it. But she's linked like all these people that talk about her as being haters that are trying to stop their movement. And we must be over the target if they're reacting this way. And, there are people who suck, TPUSK, Alex Jones, these other people, all these other type of gatekeepers, Ben Shapiro, all those people that are having an oppositional adversarial relationship with Candace Owens. But I am grouping them all together, Candace with them, because they're all the same. She worked for Ben fucking Shapiro for years. And now what? And then she's waking up to all these things and all these things that we've known for years. Like, I knew about Kay Gribbs, and I'm not even sure she's legitimate. Kay Gribbs is a woman who was married to a colonel in the military. She talked about how these guys all sexually abused what her husband called cherry Marines, and that her husband was a piece of shit, and the people with him, and all these generals were all depraved gay dudes who would sexually, assault these these young Marines and these other people. And, just all of it. Like, she has a whole thing about it. And, it seems kind of legit. It might be true, might not. But we all know about it. Many of you guys know about it. And she didn't discover it, but to her dumb fuck, she did. And so, but if you compare my history against Candace's, I've always been there, right? Like, I've, been right about all these things long before these people were willing to discuss them. People who used to talk shit about us and now are, like people like Tucker Carlson, who was asked about 9/11. And he's like, come on, that's just too far. You guys should be locked up. Like, he was saying shit. I showed the video clip of this many times. And now, yeah, it's great that they're moving in the right direction. So here's another comment. Okay, so this is not the comment I want to read. I'm going to read this first anyway. Irrefutable proof that Candace, this is a video, irrefutable proof that Candace has a dong and Erica too, and Charlie was a woman. And this person writes, you're just figuring it out? Like, to try to demean me when I'm mocking you for your dumb fuckery, right? Because, I made a video years and years ago about Michelle Obama. In some ways, I'm the father of this movement. Someone else had made a video first, so, like, the idea had been out there about these people being dudes, but I discovered it and made it kind of legitimate because, my presentation was better than the people that were making the original video, and I wasn't some right-wing dope or these things. And I watched the video as a goof and fact-checked it and found out things, things that were there, things that weren't. And, this video got 2 million views, and it started this whole trans investigation stuff, which, I'm certainly not proud of, because it came back to, like, these people started coming back to me saying that I wasn't, I had evolved my thoughts on this over time. Like, where I was when I made the video, the first video, about Michelle Obama, and Serena Williams and Jennifer Aniston, and then the follow-up video, all these male celebrity actors who had to put on a dress, and it's almost all of them A-list. These were big, widely viewed videos. But I have evolved a lot since then. That was in 2015. But I had people coming to me, QBs and other people, saying, "No, you don't get it." And I'm like, you're my son, right? Like fucking, like I started this thing, and you guys have turned it into something stupid. And where I was years ago, I wouldn't make the videos I made. I would make them in a totally different way because I have, I've evolved in my understanding of these things, right? Not that there isn't some truth there, but they just took it and made it fucking stupid. And, I don't regret participating in that because it was, a stage on my journey. But again, my videos I made, I would make better videos now because I understand it more. But these people are, they've taken something and gone down, and I presented something and have gone up, right? Like in terms of my, evolution and my conscious of understanding all these things. And knowing that none of this stuff matters right now because, we're obviously past the point of no return. And so there needs to be energy going in a different direction. And so there's that. And so let me find this other comment. Let me find it here. Here it is. Something that annoying me about Paul. Something that annoying me about Paul. Okay, so I make mistakes in my titles and shit, so dyslexia. But come on, bro. Something that annoys me, something that annoying me about Paul, he thinks he has a monopoly on the truth. Everyone else is a piece of shit, lying shill. It is possible for there to be some other truth tellers out there. Newly awakened people should be welcomed, not criticized. So I assume this person is talking about me talking about people in the truth community that are now calling bullshit on Trump's fake assassination attempt, right? And, and someone like Candace Owens and the rest of them. They're gatekeepers. They're not truthers or gatekeepers. These are famous people that are handled and owned, and they're shilling out their bullshit. So, all the truthers who didn't get that the assassination attempt was fake were, and were endorsing Trump, were deluding themselves or were lying to their audience. They either knew it was fake and were lying, or they couldn't figure it out, and both those things are very problematic, right? Again, this is, going back to over a year and a half ago, and then coming out now, who gives a shit? And so, I myself have said about, say, Tucker Carlson, he's better now than he was when he was, he was slamming people who believed in 9/11 truth, say, 10 years ago. So at least he's evolved a little bit. And, that's okay. And that's a perspective. I don't have that perspective anymore because these people are now controlling the truth community. They are controlling the narratives. It wasn't hard to see that Trump's assassination attempt was fake. It wasn't hard. Like I saw it within seconds, like within the first day, I heard about it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so fucking fake and so WWE. And my wife and I were talking about it. She's like, well, there's, he's bleeding from the air, and I looked at all of it. I'm like, this is so fucking fake, and I came out and said it that day, and many of you saw the same thing. Many people saw the same thing, and then I thought the truth community would also be saying the exact same thing. Because this was a pivotal event. Because Trump wasn't lying to the left, he was deceiving his own people, purposely deceiving them. Like this is him, people who are supporting him and giving him money, and maybe some independents who might be leaning towards him. But he was deceiving the people who are going to vote for him and support him. And even left-wing people like Cenk Iyengar, those guys, those Young Turk guy, and those other people were saying this was a badass moment. Like this was, those people, all those people who were buying into this shit. He was deceiving them. He wasn't deceiving me. I mean, he was going to negatively affect me, his lying piece of shit. But it showed you that he was willing to deceive you, and we know for sure. There's, it's irrefutable and undeniable, because his own doctor came out and said his cut is less than 2 centimeters and didn't need stitches. which meant that it's a fucking boo-boo, but it wasn't even a cut. We saw this with Joe Rogan later on. But let's say we believe that he actually, there was a cut on his ear. Trump wore a maxi pad on Thursday for something that happened on Saturday that stopped bleeding on Saturday, right? That didn't need stitches. So he didn't need a bandage on Sunday. He didn't need one on Monday. He didn't need one on Tuesday. And he didn't need one on Wednesday. But on Thursday, he showed up with a big maxi pad over his entire ear, like his ear was missing. And you could see in the, in the original video from the shot, which he lied about as well, that there was no blood. He said he touched his hand, he touched his ear with his hand, and he looked at his hand, and his hand was full of blood. And you can see from the video that doesn't exist, right? So at the very least, he's lying to you when he puts on a maxi pad and walks out there to give his speech like he's some fucking purple-hearted veteran, right? I mean, just the false, the stolen valor and all that shit. And then he goes a week later, and he goes on. I'm sorry, he goes that Saturday, a week later from the shooting, and he goes on being interviewed by Jesse Waters, and he's still got a bandage, a small one, which I've demonstrated before, on his ear, right? And so he's lying to his Fox News people who are watching him. These are all his people. And Jesse Waters, and saying that he needs a bandage when he doesn't. And he kept that bandage on for 13 days. And I was waiting for him to take it off because I said there's going to be nothing there and no evidence that he ever had anything there. No scab, no, nothing missing from his ear. I mean, is it too much of a pussy to have them take out a chunk of his ear, like a bullet-shaped chunk of his ear? Because he could have. Like, people get piercings all the time. You could have taken one from the team, like WWE, like he was a real WWE guy. Red is green is something they say when they would cut themselves and bleed. And I didn't know about any of this stuff to do with WWE and all that stuff. And he had Hulk Hogan, all those fucking people, Dana White and Kid Rock, and all that fucking weird, dumbass bullshit that he put out, that low fucking trailer trash shit that he was rolling out there. And so, it was obviously fake. And like I said, there's some things we know for sure he lied about, deceived, like the maxi pad. So when he deceives you like this, and he's done it over and over again, he lies, he constantly lies to his people, like he's lying here in Davos. We're going to get back to this. I'm going to finish this thing here. But when you lie like this all the time, and you're a piece of shit liar, and you get caught lying, then the only thing he's got going for him, because he goes against everything Republicans are supposed to stand against. Big government, the stuff, make America first, all the things he promised. He's not putting America first. He's putting Israel first, for one. But he's also putting Trump first. Big government corruption, the Bidens and Hunter Biden stealing all this money. And he's getting himself a plane from Qatar. And he's got money from the Venezuelan oil companies in Qatar, I heard the other day. I mean, he's the biggest grifter. Him and his family have had $1.4 billion in 1 year, he's made $1.4 billion off of his presidency. His personal, his company's finances, his personal finances, his family. And so this is how fucked he is, how corrupt he is. And so when he goes against, like he's against state rights, martial law, I mean, all the things that were supposed to be truther principles, and certainly Republican, go against traditional Republican values. He's not a Christian, fake Christian, all these things. That you can only say, well, this guy's a genius and we should trust him because he's really going to make America great again. He clearly is not any of those things. And all these people should know it now. Like, you've had enough of a sample size to see, the non-releasing the Epstein files. And he has people who are bailing on him finally, some of his dumb fucks, but they're late to the fucking party. Like, even if they bailed on him now, it's too fucking late. He's already, done his damage and will continuously do so. The time to speak truth was when he faked the fucking assassination attempt. And I had somebody, one of my viewers said, I've watched like 60 different channels, and you're one of 3 channels that has called this out, and the other 2 are not sure. It's whatever the comment was. I read it a while ago. I mean, even people saying, well, this might not be true. And so almost nobody was calling it out when, it was important to do so. It's who gives a shit after the election, right? Who gives a shit? Like now, okay, great. Now you're turning on Trump. And so if you're that late to the party, and this isn't even, you're not even close to finding divinity within you, which is the real solution, then this is a fucking like a, I mean, we're fucked, right? I say this all the time. If and this person in the comment, let me read the comment again here. The person in the comment says, something that annoying me about Paul, he thinks he has a monopoly on the truth. Everyone else is a piece of shit, lying shill. It is possible for there to be some other truthers out there. Newly awakened people should be welcomed, not criticized. So you're saying that I'm more advanced than them, that I am not a newly awakened person, and I'm much farther along. You're admitting the fucking truth about this thing. And if I'm like the cream of the crop, then you're fucked. I've already said that. I don't have a monopoly on the truth. It was so obvious what happened with Trump, and now you guys are just getting around to it. Like, how fucked are we if this is the truth community? This is the people pursuing truth. And, like, the big point here is all these people who are still shilling for Trump when it's so fucking right in your face. And they're, even if they mention some criticism of him, they're still not willing to go that this guy's the fucking Antichrist. This guy is a fucking demon, right? And he's got all these fucking Christians following him like a Pied fucking Piper over the cliff, right? He's not going over the cliff, but you are. And, he's making it whatever for himself, cutting himself a nice deal and leading you over the fucking cliff. And so, like, this is on you, right? This is on you. This is not on the Democrats or the liberals. This is on all the fake truthers and all all the fake presenters of truthful information that have been shilling for Trump, and all the people that have gone along with it. Like, you're supposed to be truthers. You're supposed to get to the truth, but you're allergic to the fucking truth. You're worse than sheeple, right? And so this isn't on me. I'm not, like, I wish you were better than me. I say this all the time. I wish you were more spiritually evolved than me. This is, every person on a spiritual path hopes that the younger generation and other people pass them by. And so that's the only thing I can hope for, because, I'm not good enough where I am. So, like, and no one else is even talking about the divinity within part, which is the solution. And so, we're fucked right now. Like, we're really fucked in ways that you can't even imagine. And hopefully there's going to be some kind of drastic turnaround with some kind of divine intervention. This is the only thing I can hope for. Like, there's things that happen spiritually that people are changing and they don't know it. And they're changing their consciousness and evolving. And, some of it's going to have to come down to choice, but some of it's happening on a spiritual level. This idea of these indigo children and a new race of human beings and that are just better. We have to evolve. We have to rise up to a higher level. And I've experienced the higher level through my years of meditation and, consciousness changes in myself. But it's not enough, and it has to be more than that. It has to be more substantial, and it has to be universal or global, or we're done as a species, right? It's just not good enough. Like waking up now and trying to claim things that, that have been around for a long time, like you've discovered them, and like you're breaking the case like Candace Owens is doing, or these other people. You have to acknowledge what's already been and how it's being degraded. And, instead of going forward, we're moving backwards on every level in the truth community, of course, across the society and the globe. So what we're talking about is saving this species, which I said in that video, evolve or go extinct. That's the choice here. And people are choosing to go extinct. Right now, it looks like we're going extinct, right? Unless something drastic happens. All right, so speaking of which, let's get back to Trump. Or let's not say we did. I went for a walk with my dogs, and I was looking for eggs for the chickens. Kind of a little bit warmer now. We had a really cold spell, and then it's going to get cold again. It's like 33 degrees outside. I was thinking more about this. I don't think about myself in relationship to you all. Like, I don't, whatever people think about me in terms of who I am to you, like, I don't think about it. Like, I just present content here and share information. And, I'm very relieved to have the Sajmark teaching of you do the work and leave the results to God, right? You do the work is yours, and the results are God. So I don't, think about the results, and it frees me from being disappointed, because I would be disappointed if I thought about the information that I disseminate here and the results of that information, right? Just in terms of the amount of people who listen to it, the amount of viewership, the amount of people that do the meditation more than anything else, the amount of people that move towards a spiritual direction because of it. Very small percentage of the people that, the millions of people that have listened to me here, there's a small amount of people that are embracing or at least open to the spiritual teachings and thinking about changing that or working towards changing that in their own lives and ultimately doing the meditation, the Gratefulness meditation, Sajmark meditation that I do. That's freely given in the description box, right? So if I'm right, and again, not about me, but if what I say is true about the system not being able to be saved, and I think more and more people can kind of see that. So the system can't be saved. And so there's two things then, right? There's adaptation and there's preparation for what's about to happen. You have to prepare for what's going to happen, and you also have to adapt to what big scale, large scale changes mean. And certainly it's materialistic lifestyle, but that's not the most important part. If what you're being asked to do is to morph genetically, right, have some kind of genetic mutation, evolve and rise up to a higher level to become a new species. Like, we have to become a new species. I think everyone can see that. And I'm not talking about looking at the lowest of the low. I'm talking about looking at the highest of the high. And, when I talk about people here, I don't compare myself to the lower dumb fucks and people like that, the people I call dumb fucks. I don't compare myself to them. It's, it might sound like I'm coming off with some sort of superiority, but it isn't the case. I'm looking up to the people I've seen and I've experienced their level of evolution. Certainly the master of the Sajmark system, Master Charji, but all their people. I stayed at this one guy's house in Texas, an old Indian guy and his wife. They were like this very saintly couple, and I would have noticed them otherwise. My family and I stayed there for a gathering for a couple of days, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a saint. Like, you could just, the energy in his house, the way that he lived, the way, just the essence of what he emanated from. And you experience angry people, dumb people, crazy people, depraved people, negativity all the time. This is what I'm reacting to. And people are looking up to those people like Trump, who's a depraved person. So what does that tell you where humanity is, right? And so you have to look at the people that are beyond you and aspire to be like them. And, I am not unhappy with my participation in that, but I could be better. Like, I could be a lot better. I mean, if I'm being honest, like, I give myself a solid C, maybe a C plus or a B minus, but I certainly don't get an A. And I possibly could be getting D, given, whatever I had coming into this life and the opportunities that have been afforded to me. I don't know. Like, I'm participating. I'm not getting an F. I'm not failing, but I'm not, an A student. I'm not like, killing it either, right? Like, my own spiritual journey, my own whatever it is, right? So those are the two things, though. Like, are you adapting? Are you willing to adapt? Are you going to adapt? Are you preparing to adapt? Are you preparing for what's about to happen? Are you readying yourself for changes that need to happen? Do you see the changes that you have to make? Do you see the changes that humanity has to make? Do you see the flaws in humanity, right? Again, I'm reading this Whispers again, specifically about this one part. These Whispers of the Brighter World prophecy messages. Wednesday, February 28th, 2001. So this is coming up, right? In a quarter of a century, February 28th, 2001, it's now 2026, so in a quarter of a century, 25 years, the Earth will experience a major turbulence that will be the beginning of a cycle which Earthmen will find very difficult to go through. Fire will literally beat down on certain parts of the world, whereas torrents of rain will pour over others. Cataclysms will follow one another for many long years, keeping men frightened. Many will turn towards the supreme God, beseeching his forgiveness for more and more aberrant behaviors, as well for the maltreatment imposed on their nourishing mother, the earth. And, again, many will turn towards the supreme God, beseeching his forgiveness for more and more aberrant behaviors, as well for the maltreatment imposed on their nourishing mother, the earth. there's things that happen in your life where you're like, you realize, like you've been in denial and you've been dismissing it. You've been like a punk, and you're feeling like fucking, blaming everybody else, and you're, rationalizing everything. And then something happens, and you're like, holy shit, I'm a piece of shit. Like that happens to people. It should happen to people a lot more. Weeping in the Sajmark system, really weeping in a way, not crying for attention or looking for sympathy, but weeping and, desperately wanting to change and just being, in a deep level of just, you're bowing before God and weeping and, you're like beseeching God for forgiveness. And I was, hoping to improve and rise up and evolve. Like that's what has to happen. Will it happen? We don't know yet. I mean, maybe it has already happened in some, on a future timeline that we don't have access to, cyclical time. But for us, we're not at that point yet. But we should all see that we're fucked right now, and it's because of our underdevelopment, immaturity, having technology and things that, powers over the material world and not being mature enough to handle those powers. Like that's defines humanity and being egotistical and not asking God for permission to do things and just arrogantly doing them, claiming things that we can't claim and, all the stuff that we know. So here it is, back to it. The failure to respect the elements will lead to the effects generating terror among the population at the end of the century. In future ages, the present layout of the continents will be shattered. Maps will need revising. Yet the creatures inhabiting this planet will have more than enough to do in order to survive rather than dealing with those details. Adam will turn against mankind, who will not have been able to harness it, and its lightning power will be devastating. The time for punishment for such a conceit will take place as hard as it can, and man, paying for his ancestors' glaring mistakes, will suffer without having any control over the situation. The transformation of this planet must go through all these cataclysms in order to be effectively competed. Babaji. And I recently read some of these messages about a new race, genetically modified, that people will change and adapt and be more spiritual and have, various levels of the ability to intercommune and these things, right? Psychic power, just a higher level of stuff that we know that's available, because some people can do it already. There's always, some levels of things. Humanity has shown talents, and, things have emerged in people, and there's been some outliers and some spiritual people that have demonstrated that what a human being is capable of evolving into. Saints and, higher developed souls, spiritual masters, these things. And so this is what I'm talking about, right? And so if you're still pretending like we can fix this and bring justice, someone like the piece of shit Candace Owens and these other people who are pretending that there's some way of, and knowing full well there's not, or, being instructed to put out disinformation to their audience. So that's what we're dealing with. These people are worse than the mainstream media. I mean, they're pretending to be truthers, and they're mainstream media people that are, they're a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? They're shill in truther clothing. And so that's why I don't, I mean, lying to people, whether you're aware of the lies or not. I mean, if you're aware of them, that's bad and you're doing evil shit. And if you're not aware of them, then why are people listening to you? If you can't see the truth, why are you talking, right? So that's my position on these things. And, time will always bear these things out, right? One way or another. So we'll see what happens. But, there'll be lots of people who'll be like, that guy was right years ago. Or maybe, that could flash across their mind, but who's going to give a shit about that, right? Like the time to do something is now. The time to prepare for, and I'm not saying quit your job and go out into the woods. I mean, people lose their shit over, these types of things. It's not a fear-based reaction. It's deepening your wisdom and your maturity and rising up to a higher level and connecting to God and finding out what, getting inspired by divine interaction, helping you, lead you, and prepare you for what you need to do and who you need to become. Like that's what I'm talking about here. And it's a message that even if the civilization wasn't collapsing, it would still be just as valid, because it's something people always have to do. You have a spiritual path, you have a soul, and you have a purpose. And finding that purpose is almost nobody does. And if they do, it's like their work or their job, but it's not. It doesn't become something that's solidifies and helps to expand their connection to the divinity within them. Okay, so that's where we're at, right? And like we're in desperate times, but we're always in desperate times. As long as you're going away from your soul's path, whether it's 1980 or 1620 or 50 years BC before Christ, or no matter what time period it is, once you start deviating away from your soul's path and break the connection between you and the divinity within you, and you're going in the wrong direction, that's always a problem. Like it's never, it's not like it gets better or worse over time. It's always the wrong thing to do, and it's always going to cause problems for yourself and other people here on planet Earth and the planet itself. And that's what's been happening now for thousands of years. Okay, let's get back into the Trump stuff here.
Oh, Mark, we never asked for anything, and we never got anything. We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be, frankly, unstoppable.
Jesus Christ.
But I won't do that.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for not fucking destroying our alliance with Europe, right? Thanks, bro.
Okay, now everyone's saying, oh, good. That's probably the biggest statement I made, because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force.
Jesus Christ, bro. That's what you're saying now. Like, everyone knows you can change in a heartbeat.
All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland.
Also, that's all we want. That's why we're not fucking asking for much. I mean, look at all we've did for you guys. You guys can give us fucking Greenland, right? We get it. We fucking deserve it. You heard what I just said, right? You heard that, like, fucking all America's done for you. I mean, are you guys speaking German and Japanese? I mean, holy shit, we deserve Greenland for that, right? I mean, you guys all have your own languages still. And so, I mean, some of you guys speak German, like Germans, but, like, some of you guys are bilingual. But, I mean, the rest of you guys, you're speaking your native language. Thanks, Toss. Isn't that worth fucking Greenland, right?
Well, we already had it as a trustee, but respectfully returned it back to Denmark not long ago after we defeated the Germans, the Japanese, the Italians, and others in World War II. We gave it back to them.
We gave it back to them. I mean, they entrusted it to us, and they lent it to us for a little bit, and we took it, and we actually gave it back. Like, and we could have just kept our neighbor's lawnmower after all we did for them, right?
We were a powerful force then, but we are a much more powerful force now. After I rebuilt the military in my first term and continue to do so today, we have a budget of $1.5 trillion. We're bringing back battleships. The battleship is 100 times more powerful than the great battleships you saw in World War II, those great, big, gorgeous ships.
They were pretty gorgeous back then. Those are some gorgeous ships.
Missouri, the Iowa, the Alabama. Because I thought maybe we could take them out of mothballs. They said, no, sir, these ships are 100, think of that, 100 times more powerful than those big, magnificent pieces of art that
they were just so artistic, those ships.
You saw so many times ago that you still see on television. You say, wow, what a force. 100 times, each ship, 100 times.
Oh, my God, he's losing his shit. Imagine being there and, on the other side of this thing for these motherfuckers. Like, oh, my God, this guy's lost his shit.
Times more powerful than the big battleships of the past. So that was the end of the mothball story. So what we have gotten out of NATO is nothing except to protect Europe from the Soviet Union and now Russia. I mean, we've helped them for so many years. We've never gotten anything.
We've never gotten anything back. I mean, we've done so much, and we've got nothing back. There's nothing. It was just a one-sided deal. It's a one-sided relationship. We didn't get anything back, like the U.S. being the world reserve currency and all the other things that we have gotten back that I'm not acknowledging right now. But, fuck you guys. You takers, you fucking parasites living off our fucking thing. I mean, not like our relationship with Israel that's so fucking great and so two-sided that we get all these things from Israel. We get all kinds of things from Israel. I mean, it's like we're getting like. I mean, we're lucky to have that relationship. They give more to us than we give to them. I mean, come on, look at Israel and us. Why don't you guys be like Israel? And instead, you guys give nothing back to us.
Except we pay for NATO. And we paid for many years until I came along. We paid for, in my opinion, 100% of NATO because they weren't paying their bills. And all we're asking for is to get Greenland, including right title and ownership, because you need the ownership to defend it. You can't
defend it otherwise.
defend it on a lease.
Exactly. Like we can't defend Europe from Russia unless we own all of Europe. Just because we're in this thing called NATO doesn't mean we. Even though I've just said that we've been defending it for years, we need to own it to defend it.
Legally, it's not defensible that way, totally. And
Thank you for your service.
number two, psychologically, who the hell wants to defend a license agreement or a lease, which is a large piece of ice in the middle of the ocean where if there is a war, much of the action will take place on that piece of ice. Think of it. Those missiles would be flying right over the center of that piece of ice.
Yeah, so what? That's not where the action is. It's where the missiles either take off from or really where they land. That's where the action is.
All we want from Denmark for national and international security and to keep our very energetic and dangerous potential enemies at bay is this land on which we're going to build the greatest golden dome ever built. We're building a golden dome that's going to, just by its very nature, going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way.
Fuck Canada, too. Fuck you guys, Canada.
They should be grateful also, but they're not.
They're not grateful, those pieces of shit, those worthless, ingrateful pieces of shit.
I watched your prime minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful.
He wasn't so grateful for Trump. He wasn't fucking licking Trump's taint.
But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Next time you run your mouth, you little bitch.
What we did for Israel was amazing, but that's nothing compared to what we have planned for the United States, Canada, and the rest of the world. We are going to build a dome like no other. We did it for Israel. And by the way,
And Israel doesn't give a shit back either.
I told Bibi, stop taking credit for the dome. That's our technology. That's our stuff. But they had a lot of courage, and they were good fighters, and they did a good job, and we wiped out the Iran nuclear threat like nobody can believe.
Like nobody can believe it. And they gave us back so much for building them a dome, all that shit that we didn't do for ourselves, but we did for Israel. And I'm willing to give Israel. Beatty calls me up and says, here, give me this weapon, that weapon. We give him everything he wants.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it. That, Venezuela, taking down Soleimani, wiping out al-Baghdadi when he tried to reinstitute ISIS.
Al-Baghdadi died like a dog.
We did a lot. I did a lot of big things, all perfectly executed. Everyone was perfectly executed. Somebody told me that, a military expert told me, sir, everything you've done has been perfectly executed. I said,
Hey, sir. They always say, sir. Hey, sir. They always talk like this to me. Hey, sir, everything you've done, sir, is perfectly executed, sir.
No. So other presidents have spent, whether foolishly or not, trillions and trillions of dollars on NATO and gotten absolutely nothing in return. We've never asked for anything.
We never asked for anything. Never asked for anything. We're just doing it out of the goodness of our own heart. We get nothing back from it at all. Nothing at all.
It's always a one-way street. Now they want us to help them with Ukraine. And we say, we're going to. I'm really helping, not even them. I want to see, last week, if you saw, it was 10,000 soldiers, but last month it was 31,000 soldiers died. 31,000. That's this room times the number of people
31.
in this room times 30.
Well, how many people are in this room? 1,000?
Think of it. 30,000 soldiers died in 1 month. The month before it was 27,000. The month before that it was 28,000. The month before that it was 25,000. It's
Where are you getting these numbers for, bro?
a bloodbath over there. And that's what I want to stop. It doesn't help the United States, but these are souls. These are young people. Look like you. Look like some of you right in the front row.
Some of you motherfuckers look pretty you fucking cranium over there.
They go to war. Their parents are so proud. Oh, there he goes. Comes back. 2 weeks later, they get a call. Your son's head's been blown off.
Holy shit.
I want to stop it. It's a horrible war. It's the worst since World War II. They keep going. They'll exceed World War II. The numbers are staggering, how many people they've lost. They don't want to talk about it. Ukraine and Russia lost just tremendous amounts. And I'm dealing with President Putin, and he wants to make a deal, I believe. I'm dealing with President Zelensky, and I think he wants to make a deal. I'm meeting him today. He might be in the audience right now. But they got to get that war stopped because too many people are dying, needlessly dying. Too many souls are being lost. It's the only reason I'm interested in doing it.
The only reason is I'm just really interested in lost souls.
But in doing it, I'm helping Europe, I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me.
Iceland, exactly. When I say Iceland, I mean Greenland.
They called me daddy, right, last time. Very smart man said, he's our daddy. He's running it. I was like running it. I went from running it to being a terrible human being.
Exactly. I mean, now they're not calling me daddy anymore.
But now what I'm asking for is a piece of ice, cold and poorly located, that can play a vital role in world peace and world protection. It's a very small ask compared to what we have given them for many, many decades. But the problem with NATO is that we'll be there for them 100%. But I'm not sure that they'd be there for us if we
You mean like Israel? Like Israel's always there for us?
gave them the call. Gentlemen, we are being attacked. We're under attack by such and such a nation. I know them all very well. I'm not sure that they'd be there.
I'm not sure. Like, they'll give us like 1,000 troops, like they did when the Iraq, Afghanistan, and fucking, those other bullshit wars, right?
We'd be there for them. I don't know that they'd be there for us. So with all of the money we expend, with all of the blood, sweat, and tears, I don't know that they'd be there for us. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Not that they're for Iceland. Somewhere he just fucking lost his shit on Iceland or Greenland.
Stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe Greenland, too.
So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money. But that dip is peanuts compared to what it's gone up. And we have an unbelievable future in that stock.
Okay. There's some part of this thing. I'll go a little bit further.
Stock market is going to be doubled. We're going to hit 50,000, and that stock market's going to double in a relatively short period of time because of everything that's happening.
The funny thing is they can't walk out on this motherfucker. All right, there's one part. Let me just see if I can find that part. Okay, so this is towards the end of the speech here.
History are right before us. It is the pioneers in this room. Many of you in this room are true pioneers. You're truly brilliant people.
Brilliant people, you guys.
Your ability to get a ticket is brilliant because you have about 50 people for every seat. I don't know what. That's Larry. Everything Larry touches turns to gold. He made this very successful.
Larry, that fucking Larry.
But you're in this room, and some of you are the greatest leaders anywhere in the world. You're the greatest brains anywhere in the world. And the future is unlimited, and to a large part because of you. And we have to protect you, and we have to cherish you.
We have to cherish you guys, you brilliant people that are sitting here. You guys are the best at the World Economic Forum. Fuck everybody else. Those guys who can't get tickets in here, like to Willy Wonka's factory. You guys can, though. Fucking Larry. If you get in with Larry, you guys are brilliant.
I always say we have to cherish our brilliant people because there aren't many of them. So together with confidence, boldness, and persistence, let us lift up our people, grow our economies, defend our shared destiny, and build a future for our citizens that is more ambitious, more exciting, more inspiring, and greater than the world has ever seen. We're in a position to do things that nobody else has ever even thought of before.
Exactly. It's me and you and me. That's us brilliance people.
And many of the people in this room are the ones that are doing it. And I want to congratulate you, and I'm with you all the way. You can do things that nobody else can even think about. So I congratulate you on your tremendous success. And the United States is back, bigger, stronger, better than ever before. And I'll see you around. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
There's one person standing. The one person stood up. A couple people.
Thank you.
Boy, that was a fucking train wreck. Holy shit! This guy's losing his shit right in front of his eyes, and the shills around him and the people in the truth community won't acknowledge it. What's right in front of their fucking faces. Okay, and I guess he said this as well.
Usually they say he's a horrible dictator type person. I'm a dictator. But sometimes you need a dictator.
Okay, so, that ain't good. Like, holy shit, so. And if you don't see it, like, how the fuck are you going to see anything else, right? Right? I mean, it's just right there. And these people are still shilling for this motherfucker, right? Or shilled for him in the past and haven't taken responsibility for being so fucking wrong. Whatever reason you had for shilling for him in the past, I'm talking about truthers, but, ordinary people that thought this guy was going to change things for the better. You got to fucking, take some accountability here, right? Okay, so I asked Gemini because, if he's saying he's going to purchase Greenland, right? That's his new claim. And if you go to war, that war is going to cost whatever money. Right? You know how much wars cost. So if we went to war to acquire Greenland, that's probably going to cost over $1 trillion. I mean, at least we don't have to mobilize that far. I don't know what the war involves. And I don't know, in terms of loss of the stock market and, all the things that would, a war with Europe. I don't even know where to start with all that shit. But here, I asked, it said multiple reports and economic analysis have the potential cost in the hundreds of billions to trillions of dollars. The National Security Office reports that in January 15, 2026, suggests the White House has discussed a framework valued between $500 billion and $700 billion. This figure is roughly half of the U.S. budget and is roughly half of the annual U.S. defense budget as viewed by administrations as a one-time investment to block Russia and China expansion in the Arctic. The mineral evaluation economists at the American Action Forum estimate that the use where Greenland for resources, the price could reach $2.7 trillion to $4.4 trillion. The accounts of Greenland's massive reserves of rare earth minerals vital for electronics in the Golden Dome missile shields and untapped gas, oil and gas. And so, it's going to cost some trillions of dollars, like I would say, I'm just ballparking it, like $1.5 trillion. If he was going to make them a real offer, right? And I don't know if they would even take it. It's not for sale. But let's say that goes through. That's $1.5 trillion added to the U.S. national debt, right? And you're not going to see that money back, the taxpayer money, because private companies would therefore then go develop Greenland resources, and Trump and his people all get a part of that, and that won't make it back into the fucking coffers of tax revenue. Like it's socializing the purchase of Greenland and then privatizing the profits that him and his buddies will make on it, right? And so this is something key to understand. I mean, it's unclear how much, it says the residential dividend, a more recent and controversial proposal involves the U.S. paying direct dividend to Greenland's 57,000 citizens to incentivize the move. Figures discussed range from 10,000 to 100,000 per person, which would be roughly 5.7 billion in direct payments alone. So paying them money, like, they're Native Americans and you're taking oil on their land and giving them dividends, right? And so, you know, this is going to cost you. Like if they're buying these, if they're buying Greenland, they're going to take American taxpayer dollars and then ship it out to these companies. So that's just more added to the national debt, which is not what Republicans signed on for, right? I mean, this guy. Anyways, you know, they need these rare earth minerals for the Golden Dome that Trump is proposing. So he's got to mine this stuff from Greenland to build this Golden Dome. You know, Jesus fucking Christ. So there's that. Okay. Here we go.
Would sit down, hash out the deals with the term Pope, patriarchs over a millennium-old debate. That would make me get out of bed. But this Turning Point USA, a cease and desist. Is that what we're doing? Is this the chapter that we are on? We're turning the chapter here to lawfare? This is what's left? You want us to believe this is Charlie's legacy? In the future, Turning Point USA is going to be thought of as the girl that peaked in high school, you know? Free market capitalism, open debate, prove me wrong. Now it's suddenly shut up and serve the new queen. That's what they want, right? So just to recap, our cultural cardinal rule number 1 is that it's gay to send a legal letter. It's very gay. You shouldn't do it, especially
Pretty gay.
you can just pick up the phone and call someone. People are open to changing their mind, open to being wrong. You just have to call someone. The vibe that sending out legal letter gives the internet in this day and age, it's changed, the vibes are changing, is my daddy is so rich, he can buy the world. I'm so rich. We are so rich. We can buy whatever we want. And so now we're just going to buy you and we're going to make people like us because we can afford it. We can buy social stand.
All right. So, you know, I can't deal with her shit today or any day. Turning Point sent her fucking a cease and desist order. Which, you know, Turning Point has done. I don't know what Candace, I mean, not everything that she said has been truthful about them, right? TPUS gay. And, you know, this is kind of a new low for them. But let's go to their channel here. See if there's anything else here. I don't want. We know, we get it. This is, you know, this is going to go on for a while. Really doesn't matter. She says one more thing about Erica here.
Standing. Erica, chairman, CEO. Erica, my girl. Heavy is the head that wears the crown after its rightful owner was deposed. Am I right? Am I right?
Now, this probably, best way to interpret what you just said was Erica killed Charlie Kirk and took his position, right? Like, I mean, it's not exactly saying that, but I mean, saying, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown when the rightful king has been deposed. Well, you know, I mean, she wouldn't admit to saying that, but that's kind of what that implies, right?
Now, in terms of the legal letter's content, in case you are wondering, maybe you are assuming that their main point of contention is going to be other things that I've said. Well, you know, let me actually cut here to Tim Dillon, because Tim Dillon made a joke. Maybe it wasn't really a joke after AmFest.
Okay, fuck.
And he insinuated that all they really care about is money. Remember this, what Tim Dillon said?
Okay, so let's give.
Letter, you're going to recognize that indeed it does seem to be the thing that they are number one most concerned about, is writing the allegation that there may be some quote unquote financial impropriety, and they're quoting me.
Okay, so the two people they've gone after here is the guy who said that they've taken money from, you know, that they've been laundering money. You know, that's the one person they've sent a cease and desist. And Candace, remember, she said, you guys got to ask for your donations back. And remember, Erica made it a point to, when Candace and her met, according to Candace, that was one of the things she was upset about, and Candace walked that back, right? When Candace said, you guys should go call up and get your donations back. And people did that. And so, you know, that's just, of course they're that way. I mean, this isn't about freedom of speech. This is about them either, having some kind of issues where they've laundered money, and that would be the end of the organization if that came out. If there was really an investigation to it, some legal investigation. Of course, Trump isn't going to investigate them. It's not the Trump federal government. I don't know who else would do it other than independent people. And so if they're upset about the money, I don't know why they're doing this now. And it's a problem still just in perception. And maybe they're just thinking like it's an organization with something like 600 employees. When it was at 400, I calculated it at an average of $50,000 a year. Some people are making much more. Some people are making less. But conservatively, $50,000 a year in full-time employees at 400 people is $20 million a year. They got to come up with just to pay their staff. And that's all donation, and a little bit of merch, right? Like that's why they're selling hats at Charlie's funeral. So, this happened to Alex Jones when he built this big studio and he had a team of people. When you started hiring employees, you have to keep a steady amount of income so that you can, pay your employees. And the bigger you get, the more you have to, bring in, the more consistent you have to be. And that's what happens to a lot of these. Everything's seasonal, and the ebbs and flows of the people and whatever's going on with the platforms themselves, all this kind of, where you're doing what I do here, or so many people do. It's never consistent. When I waited tables, it was like that. And when you were making lots of money, you just thought it was going to go on forever. The restaurants are seasonal. And then when the bad season happens and they start laying people off, and, it's just, you're making almost nothing, and everyone's attitude goes south, and it's a whole thing. Things that are seasonal, things that have ups and downs, things that are feast and famine. And so, donation money is no way to build an organization, especially when most of the money is coming from Israel. Now, they're still getting money from Israel, but they don't have the kind of clout they used to have. And whatever money they're getting from Israel is almost like push money, because they're not influencers anymore. Let's go over there. We're going to go over there in a second. But, they're basically being paid to go back to the way it was before Charlie started to turn on Israel. But Israel's out of the news. College students aren't protesting over Israel now. They're protesting over this woman getting shot in the face and these other things that are going on. And so, these issues die. And when the war ended with Palestine, even though it's a complete fucking annihilation, like holy shit, right? How bad that was. Blowing up every single building in a fucking a country of 2 million people, or part of half a country of 2 million people. Whatever, the Gaza Strip represents in terms of the Palestinian, ever-shrinking Palestine. And so, this is where they're at, right? Where they're clinging to life. They're on life support. Let's go to their channel because that's where you can see it. And just to wrap this up with Candace, she has her start here, my new legal letter, Taylor Swift message to Blake Lively, Brooklyn Beckham cashes out on his family, and then she gets into comments, right? And so, did she do anything with the? Did she have the? I guess she didn't do the ads with Melania Trump, and so she's got 1.2 million views, and a cease and desist order from America would be something people would be interested in, and so she was averaging 2 point something million views. So this is a loss of 1 million views or more. I mean, it's like, almost half of her audience she's lost all of a sudden. And because of, she's out there now, I don't know what the cease and desist letter does to her content. She's just throwing shit around all over the fucking place. A lot of it's not right. So, Jesus Christ. This whole thing has imploded. But it's not been as bad for her as it has been it's been great for her up until this point. But here's TPUS Gay. Let's refresh this here. There's little Mikey McCoy. All right, so Charlie Kirk's all-time most viral abortion takedown, 14,000 views. Now, they also have something that doesn't get as many views in terms of their Rumble channel, right? They have a channel over on Rumble where they do some of their live stuff, but they don't get very many views there. And they have Spotify, and I don't know how many views they get there. But, on YouTube, it's gone down significantly. So I assume that's across the board. YouTube, Charlie used to get, 100,000, 200,000 views were low. 60,000 views were like extreme low, right? Sometimes you get millions. And they're here, this is nothing. This is not that many more views than I get. And some of these views are just people tuning in because they hate on them, right? So they put up 3 video clips here a day or something from their Spotify thing, and something even with Charlie in it. So this is nothing. This is enough to support like one person, right? And so, they get donation, they run ads, and they have some other income streams. But this isn't enough to, they have these events they do too as well, but this is not enough to pay 600 employees. So here, let's take a look at a couple of these little videos here. And this thing with Don Lemons. They also don't realize that the right wing is fucking dead. Like, the right wing is no longer popping. Like, Trump isn't popping, and the right wing isn't popping. And the young people aren't, digging this. I mean, they've lost a big section of their audience. And so they had something here on Don Lemons, trying to cash in on Don Lemons. Don Lemons brought in 23,000 views, so that's a big subject for them. Megyn Kelly said they're going to start arresting these people. Like, that's their big point. That's their big, movement there, arresting these people in the church. Yet this guy who shot a woman in the face walks free, right? So, just the whole fucking thing. So this video doesn't even have an ad on it. I don't know if they don't have any more ads to run.
I am here in upstate New York, about 20 minutes from Canada. And so I would be going to Ottawa tomorrow. So I was like, hey, I'd love to hear about Canada if you have something to add.
Oh, boy. We now have leeway to talk about Canada.
State after Greenland.
Oh, boy. Man, we can wish, but
don't do it.
We are. The truth is, we wanted to talk
libs.
about it because it's very interesting what's unfolding.
This is why I call it TPSK.
North of the border.
Oh, this is a whole can of worms.
People aren't noticing this because there's a lot of other
Can we
drama
play the
in
clips
the US.
first, though?
Yeah, let's do those clips.
So we've got so it's a 1-2. It's a shot chaser, to use a very secular vernacular.
Yeah, okay.
Mikey McCoy, they're bringing him in.
5:17. This is Prime Minister Carney, big lib, says Canada's partnership with China sets us up well for the new. Actually, hold on. Yeah, all right. So we didn't get the clip I wanted, but that's fine. This is them announcing this new partnership with the CCP. 5:17.
And I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
He couldn't have said that more ominously.
Yeah, that was him intentionally.
Okay, so you guys need to realize that this is because of Trump, right? If Trump wasn't such a douche to Canada, he's bringing China in. He's pushing everybody towards China. And you guys aren't going to say dick about it. You start criticizing Trump, he starts investigating your finances, whatever's going on here. And so, Jesus fucking Christ, right? So this is really bad content. And now it comes down to whether they're going to address him saying New World Order, right?
Signaling to DC and Donald Trump that he has his own agency and they're going to push back and become a proud little puppet state, vassal state of the CCP. But
And
Blake,
he elaborated on this. Should we do the follow-up?
Yeah,
on
let's
it?
do the follow-up.
Why don't you say that you guys understand what New World Order means, right? Like the New World Order under George W. Bush, that whole thing. Like, you have no idea. You guys aren't aware of the fucking... Like, they're so not truthers, right? These guys aren't truthers. I don't know what Charlie was, but certainly he wasn't really much of a truther either, but more than these guys, more aware at least. This is... I mean, it's like watching a ghost town over here. Okay, so the last 6 videos don't have an ad in front of them. So they don't... Either not making money or... People are worried about, maybe brand damage. People don't want to be associated with them. Like, they don't have anybody, no Angel Studios, no any of these old Charlie ads where he says these, where they bring Charlie back to pitch to shill for one of these, I mean, there's nothing. There's no ads. And they're sending out cease and desist letters to these people, right? Fucking people who are questioning their finances. I mean, TPUSK is going down quick. And, it's going to suck for me. This is two things I get to mock, Don Lemons and TPUSK. Don Lemons is going strong, and TPUSK is not.
We've just been going off on Don Lemon, Don Lemon, and
that's why are you guys laughing? Because that's a Tucker Carlson joke.
Keith Ellison, this whole Bolshevik, neo-Bolshevism that is taking over I would say the activist class, the agitator class of the far left, find it incredibly disgusting, very disturbing.
Very disgusting. I mean, disgusting. It's so disgusting, Don Lemon.
What's going on here. Give us your reaction of what we saw in Minneapolis at City's Church, and then you've been doing some research and some investigation into some of these players that were involved in this. I want to hear it all. Megan Basham, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's appalling and abhorrent to see what these activists did, storming
Disgusting, Megan Basham.
into this church.
Author, Shepherds for Sale.
I've talked to some pastors associated with this church. They're telling me that the children were terrified, that they were crying.
It's because it was so disgusting out there. Almost as disgusting as watch a woman get shot in the head, right? All right. The thing about addressing these things I talked about in terms of the truth community. Let me switch over to voiceover here and end this video. Maybe there's some more comments to get to. Okay, so let me go back to that last comment that I talked about here. I think it was right here, perhaps. Something that annoyed me about Paul, he thinks he has a monopoly on truth. Everyone else is a piece of shit, lying shill. Didn't say that. It is, and I didn't imply that either. I didn't say everyone else is that. Like, this is certain people that I cover, and when they come across my, when I'm covering them, this is what I have to say about them, right? I'm not going to lie about it. That would be dishonest. It is possible for there to be some other truth tellers out there. Newly awakened people should be welcomed, not criticized. Well, there are lots of truth tellers. I don't watch other truthers, so, but I just assume that there's other people that were doing a great job with their particular thing. Like, I know of people, I asked for people. I was going to advertise on some of these different channels, right? I asked my viewers about other channels that they watch that they think I should advertise on. And I got about 50 channels because I was trying to run ads on YouTube. And this is where the whole thing was so fucked up because they wouldn't let me run ads on these channels. And, it would benefit similar channels. I mean, when they tried to figure out what my channel was about, you wouldn't believe the channels. Some of you guys saw the video. I showed that some of the channels, some of them are like Bollywood fucking channels, and not even like foreign language things. I mean, just nothing that would have anything to do with what I do here, right? The closest thing was this guy Shane Dawson, who had a bogus conspiracy theory set of videos, and there was just that guy's just a complete piece of shit, shill, whatever, not shill. He's just a modern YouTuber, very, one of these guys like Mr. Beast or one of these people, someone who people know about, but he has nothing to do with what I do here. And that was like the closest. I think that guy quit for a while because he got some kind of bullshit where they got caught in a lie. I don't know what it was. But either way, it was an appropriate place. And that was the most appropriate place to run an ad. So I asked viewers to tell me about these channels. And I assumed that some of these channels were good and they were doing good quality work or whatever. And so, I guess that is less and less the case. But anyways, going back to what I was saying about TPUSK. So the thing about being a real truther is you can't be partisan. It's like the same thing about being a journalist. You might have, you're going to have your people you like more than other people. You can't allow that to block you from saying the truth. You can't be partisan. You can't be, holding back truths because you are, connected to people, you're a fan of people. I mean, it's a lonely type of situation. You have to write the truth, even if it destroys relationships, causes financial issues. I mean, any number of things. And that doesn't exist anymore in our journalistic world. It's so subjective. The left, would not say a word about Joe Biden's senility until they were told to by the end of his presidency when they were pivoting to Kamala Harris. And yet they'll talk about with Trump. The Fox News talked about Joe Biden being senile and having mental issues all the time and never talk about it with Trump. So that's what's happened in mainstream media. It's completely subjective. And you have a lot of right-wing truthers, people who are Trumpian, who, if Joe Biden had tried to pull off that same bullshit assassination attempt, would have called bullshit on it, because that's just what truthers were supposed to do. It was obvious. But when Trump did it, they pretended that, either they lied to themselves or they lied to their audience. But either way, that's not being truthers. So that's what I'm talking about here all the time. It's people who can't see what's obviously there, or it's people who can see and lie to their audience. And so neither one of those people have any value in the truth community that itself has been completely compromised and corrupted by all of the bullshit that's out there. And so, the part of me that it's personal for is, and I forgot about my family, but I lost 3 things that I thought were going to be there for the rest of my life. Even after my divorce, I thought that there would be relationship with my kids. That all fucking crumbled. I mean, that all went south. Like, I can't fucking believe how quickly that went. Of course, my biological family, all that stuff in the past I talked about in recent videos. And then there's the stuff to do with the truth community, which, of the 3 things, I thought that was the most vulnerable. It was already starting to get shitty. And there was always problems with it. But I didn't think it would be like it is now. And, the way that it's almost been turned to do the exact opposite. Like I said, it's making America dumber again. More stupider. Like it's helping with the idiocracy. And then my spiritual organization, which I thought was going to be around for 10,000, 20,000 years, because that's what was said. And it might, it has to be reborn in some capacity. And I've talked about that extensively. But those are 3 things that went up in fucking smoke. And not only did they go up in smoke, but they reversed themselves. They turned out to be the exact opposite of what I had hoped and thought they were going to be. And so that sucks, right, as a personal level. I've dealt with it as best I can. Just went and did a bunch of work outside and finished editing the video. I've got a few more comments to get to. But I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more from my voiceover on my family stuff and then, the rest of these things. There's the ideal situation that people want. The dream job, the dream marriage, the dream kids, right? The dream pets, the dream house, like all these things. Like when you write down, like, this is what I want in my life. This is the kind of marriage I want. This is the kind of career I want. These are the lifestyle I want, these things, right? But how many people actually get those things? And then the people who do get those things, how many people are satisfied with it, right? And so, partially, for example, people have the dream job or the dream career but don't want to work for it, or they want something that they don't have any talent for and there's no backing from their soul. So it's just like a pipe dream. It's something that can't happen. In terms of relationships, people, there's a great line from Master Chargy talking about relationships saying, everybody wants marital bliss, but have you given bliss, right? Have you given bliss to the other person? You want bliss from your side from their side without you working on it. And I think that goes with almost everything. Like if you want to achieve something, you have to be willing to give that very same thing. What do you have to do to achieve something, right? So there's the deserving aspect of stuff and the working aspect and the talent aspect of things. The talent is more to do with what's your destiny? What does your soul want for you? Oftentimes you have this, idea of what you want, but what do you need? Like what's best for you? And, the family that we have and the circumstances of our life are there for a reason. There's a famous college basketball player who he kept on saying, I'm open. And one of his teammates says, you're open for a reason. They want you to shoot, right? You can't fucking shoot. And so things like that. And so, the circumstances of our life and the time that we're born, choosing to be born in this particular time at this, with this particular situation is there because our soul wants us to experience what we're experiencing, down to the, what we look like, down to our talents, down to our race and our sex and our, all the things that we have, like all the things that go with us incarnating in this particular physical body and these things. So there's the destiny aspect as well. Like, what do we need? What is scripted in terms of God's script? What's part of God's plan and our soul's plan, which is everything. So, the idea of freedom of choice and our ability to change our destiny, figuring out where that is and what we're supposed to be doing, right? And, what's our purpose here and what can we contribute and how can we maximize this opportunity of life. And so we haven't done that. Like, that's just the problem. Like, people don't maximize the opportunity. They don't look for the, opportunity. They want what they want. Their egos want what they want. Superficial things, materialistic things. And they miss the larger opportunity of their spiritual evolution. And so that's kind of what I talk about with all these things. Accepting your family, accepting your circumstances of your birth, trying to figure out in some way, it's there for you to understand why. Why you had to go through these things that are things that you don't want to go through, things that were unpleasant, things that were disappointing. And so it's all there for you to kind of figure out what's good about that for you personally. Like, how could it affect you in a positive way? How could it make a difference to who you are on the inside, enduring some of these things? And so people just don't do that and are not willing to do that. And, the idea of being a victim and everything being unfair and and looking externally towards these created enemies that you have based in some bullshit demographic you identify with, it draws you away from any real evolutionary activity on your part. You can't evolve if you're just looking at the outside world and blaming one group and the powers that be and a rigged system for your self-perceived failure and inability to rise up and get the things that you think you deserve. And so, when people say, I don't think you're very spiritual because you swear or you don't, these things. And, I say, well, I'm on a spiritual path. I never said I was spiritual. But if you're not doing that, if you're not asking God, if you're not forming an internal relationship with God, not some bullshit or religious thing that you get through scripture and things, which is okay, that's not bad. But it's not a living, dynamic process where you're connected to the divinity within you. That you have, the divinity within you inspires you, and then having the process. I mean, the people who come to Saj Marg, they get the best version of that. Like, I don't know in terms of all of these other different types of spiritual systems and religions, but, some of them are really good with community. Like, if you belong to one of these organizations, the people are really great. They make an effort. It could be a religion, it could be, a spiritual organization, but the community is really strong. Some people's churches, they just have a great church with a great bunch of people that help each other, and they build a really good community. It's very loving, and the people have some connection to God, but they're not moving vertically. It's not a vertical system. It's more materialistic, and it's more about social aspects, and God is involved in it, the social aspects. So you feel God through this connection with other people, but you're not vertically rising up on a spiritual level. Saj Marg, the community, has always been lacking. Some places are better than others, obviously in India, depending on the people that you're with. But the community's never been the strong suit. A lot of times the people who are doing the meditation are introverted and not all that social, and, are not, there's a lot of stress on hospitality in India, so there's a little bit difference there. But the community doesn't stand out. I wouldn't say the community in Saj Marg, in some places and some circumstances, but it's not stressed. Community isn't stressed, and helping other people isn't stressed. So it's not as good as some of these other religions and organizations and these types of things where community service and good deeds, like the Jehovah's Witnesses and some of these other religions, they really stress those things, and they really do it, some of them. There's always going to be good people that really exemplify the teaching. When Saj Marg, you have a verticality of your spiritual, straight up, vertical path to go as quickly and as much effort that you're willing to put into it, into your spiritual evolution, right? Which, is the true purpose of these organizations. But a lot of people want community. A lot of people want these other things, and, they'll find something else, right? But what I'm saying here is that people who are seeking a relationship with God is very few people. And I wasn't, I stumbled into it. Like I thought about God quite a bit when I was a kid. When I was 12, 13, 14 years old, maybe. Really between the times, I think, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then I started smoking pot and, getting into other things when I was in high school. I'd caught my parents in a couple lies, and I just, I thought they were frauds and hypocritical, and then I just, whatever, fell off from my Christian upbringing. And, I got into other things, but there was always some scars that, where I'd meditated and I'd been a spiritual person in past lives, right? I had been on a spiritual path. And so that was not there in my awareness. Like, it was always there. I had interest in things. But I didn't think about God for a number of years, and then, I started doing the Sajmark meditation. That sort of changed everything. But, the people who aren't doing that, I mean, sometimes it's a matter of talent and evolution, and whatever reason it is, if you're not doing that, you're not doing that, right? Like, you can say you're spiritual if you dabble in some New Age stuff, or you do tarot card readings, or you do a horoscope, and you have some interest in things like this. But if you don't cultivate a relationship with the divinity within you, and some people do that without calling it God, they have some internal connection, and they get in guidance in one way or another. So there's different levels of it. But it's a very small amount of the population to start off with. And then people fall off, they lose faith, they don't stick with it. So there's all these other aspects to it. They don't put in the time and the effort. So, that's when I talk about these things. If I am one of the few people that really, in terms of the Sajmark system, like, I excelled and I've stuck with it, not in a way that I've never been a perfectionist, and I've never been like really, like I said, I give myself a C plus, a B minus, something like that. If I compare it to other people, yeah, that'd be something different, because a lot of people just quit, or they never got it in the first place. And so, but it's just it's a handful of people that actually do the system. And there's other, ways that people are spiritual, or they have a relationship with God, but like this one is the one that is the most vertical. Like, it's just about one thing, and that's connecting to God. And those of us who are lucky enough to find it, it's a small handful of people, and then all these people who didn't know how to deal with the dodgy failure. And so when I experienced all that, I'm like, if I'm like one of the fucking best ones, right? Like, in terms of that shit, there were a lot of people that are more devotional and just nicer, sweeter people than me. And, you can't judge people just by their external way they interact with you, because oftentimes, in the Sajmark system, people with a hard exterior often have a soft heart. And the hard exterior is there to protect their soft heart. So there's this, this is brought up quite a bit. But in terms of the commitment and devotion to God and how much people are willing to work, and there were some wonderful people that were more into it than I was, put more effort in, just were what I would consider much better at this, but they weren't truthers, right? And that's an issue. Like, you kind of have to be a truther, a little bit of a truther, to navigate what's going on in the world now. And that's also a part of evolution. You can't be a real sheeple and just follow along, because, in this case, they all went along with this guy Dodgy when obviously he was a piece of shit, right? And I should probably say this. I was always a minimalist and a slacker. Like, I can work hard, and I produce a lot of work, and but I'm not really dogged. I'm not like a go-getter, I don't have a lot of ambition, I'm just kind of like, I'm pretty chill about all that kind of stuff. I don't care about it. And so there are people who are success-driven and goal-driven and these types of, I'm just not that way. I'm like low end of that kind of thing, and I don't, necessarily excel. I'm not, there's things I wanted to be great at, but that kind of all shit kind of faded when I started to do more and more of the spiritual stuff. Even my, ambitions and dreams I had when I was a kid, to be great or be, whatever. Like, I was like, I'm, happy with mediocrity, right? I'm happy with being average. There's this thing where my brother, was talking to me. I was at my second attempt at college, and he was talking about how, all you need is a C. And like I really thought about it. I'm like, yeah, all you need is a C. And I put extreme efforts into just getting C's, right? And when I left this school, I had exactly a 2.0 average, and I had all these credits. It was kind of funny. And I mean, I worked at underachieving. And so, like, that's, when I think about myself in that way, there are people who try harder and do better, are more meticulous, they're not as sloppy, they're not whatever. And so I expect better from other people. Plus, I was always the youngest. I mean, I was my older sister was 10 years older than me. I was always the youngest person there, for a long time. Then my nephews and nieces came in. But, I was like a different generation. And so being the youngest in my family and just having that kind of attitude, I always expected that there'd be somebody that would do more. I remember like when I was, first a parent, like I was good at being an uncle. And I started working in the treatment center and I learned to be disciplined because I had to, work with these very troubled kids. So I started learning some discipline. I didn't have a lot of self-discipline. And, my brother was in the military and I lived with him for a bit. So that, helped me a little bit. But, being disciplined, I had some self-discipline when I was a kid when my mom, because of my allergies, said you can't drink dairy for 3 months. I was able to do that. There's some level of it, like internally buried, not something that I was so conscious of, but it was there. But I remember when I first became a father and like I had to, there was problems. And I'm like, wow, I hope somebody really who's going to deal with this problem? Like, it was, I'm like, oh, it's going to be me, right? You as you come into adulthood, you realize the buck stops with you and, this kind of thing. People who are the oldest child, they often start taking on parental roles and with their younger siblings, these types of things. You have a different kind of mentality, but I didn't have that. So I'm saying all this is when, a bunch of things happened all at once. My ex, I realized she was just sabotaging our family. I don't know what she was doing. I mean, some of it was conscious. A lot of it was probably unconscious. A lot of it came from self-hatred and other things, but she was just sabotaging everything that we were trying to do. And I was on my own with the kids trying to, patch together a new life that, the intergenerational family farm that we had crumbled. Then the Sajmark system crumbled when Master Chargy died and this piece of shit Daji took over. And that took some years to develop. And then, this thing that happened recently with, not recently, but with the Trump assassination, when I realized the majority of people who were in the truth community were completely compromised. They were either unwilling or unable to be truthful about Trump's bullshit because they were, whatever they were, like wishful thinking and who knows what went on in their internal world, but, some of those various things. And so, then I realized, oh, we're really fucked, right? Like if I'm excelling here, in the Sajmark meditation in terms of, my family and these things, if I'm the, like I'm the health of the thing, I'm one of the top, people just in terms of, my ability to adapt and deal with it. And then the stuff with the truth community, I was like, fuck, we're really fucked now. When you're a slacker and you excel, well, where's all everyone else? Like, where are all the go-getters? Where are all the fucking, all these indigo children I was promised? Like, all that kind of shit. Like, where are these higher developed souls that were supposed to come in and take over? Like I'm just, I'm not an administrator. I don't have any, like, I'm not a leader. I don't have any of these qualities. This guy Chargy, he was just he was an executive, a corporate executive, as well as a spiritual master and the head of a family. And he excelled in all these areas, right? And he was a meticulous person, like a perfectionist in terms of everything. Like he did just great work. And then he was gone and it was just mediocrity and low functioning set in. And, in terms of like everything in my experience. And I'm like, oh, wow, that went south quickly. Okay, so I think I have a few comments to get here with that all in mind. And one person wrote, I tried again to be that dynamic lion explaining the meditation system to a friend, but they said they would stick to belief in heaven. I told her I respected her choice, but inside I was disappointed. I understand your frustration, because I was talking about this in a video. The frustration comes for me more that more people are just not ready, right? Just to take the first step, because it's not like, just taking the first step. People are not even willing to consider taking the first step. It's just like 99% of the people. It's just whatever it is. It's people just aren't wired that way, and avoid it. There's a resistance to it. There's a resistance to spirituality, and there always has been. And so there's cultures where people grow up with it, like India, and even those people, they don't really get it. Like they just, they go along with it because everyone else does or their family does it, but they don't really feel it or get to it or whatever it is. But being a lion in the Sajmark system isn't so much. I'm not sure what the person was saying, trying to be a lion, but in the Sajmark system, it's being a conscious, aware person, and taking your life on full, going for it in terms of your soul's path, right? And so I'll talk about that maybe in some future video. Okay, there seems to be one more comment here, maybe another one before I forgot. Paul, could you wake up? COVID doesn't exist. Paul, COVID doesn't exist. Wake up. I dyslexied that comment. I don't need to go into that. It's just another one of those fucking floobies. To really, here, I should go find this other comment I just read. I'm going to go do that too. And so this person writes this, no other comment. So, irrefutable proof that Candace has a dong and Erica too. Charlie was a woman. That's the title of my video. And this person encapsulates, in caps, this long paragraph. And to top it off, so in cap letters it starts off, and to top it off, Pope Leo eats unborn children, making snuff films, lists of participants going back centuries of the Vatican's adrenochrome manufacturing, trade program operating, the Ninth Circle, Vatican's rituals, sacrifice rituals of unborn children, making snuff films, lists of participants going back centuries of the baby rapers club running the White House, and global surveillance systems tracking and tracing their victims wirelessly and remotely by their DNA because they eat unborn children. This person just blurts this fucking shit out, right? Why aren't you that obsessed about God? Like, why don't you care that much about your connection to God and connecting to God and being better instead of worried about how these fucking people that you don't know for sure they're doing these things or what all this stuff is about and stopping them, right? Like, why don't you rise up to your highest possible level and bring people up just by your energy and your condition and inspire them? I mean, if you want to, everyone working on being a saint that can work towards spirituality, then you remove yourself as a problem. And eventually, this is like we have world depopulation. And then you have a small number of people all working on their spiritual growth. There won't be any of this bullshit. There won't be any of this baby eating bullshit, any of these stuff. Like, you don't stop baby eaters by the system that they control, trying to make that system hold these people accountable, whatever they're doing or not doing, right? So another version of this comment. So, here, let me find it. Fuck, I opened the wrong one. Oh, here we go. Why does no one ever address the fact that Freemasons, Order of the Eastern Star, Shriners, Christian Rite, Templars, Jesuits, etc. Why do you say etc.? Why not list all of them? Why are those ones the best ones? Wait, you're starting. Why does no one ever address the fact that Freemasons, Order of the Eastern Star, Shriners, Christian Rite, Templars, Jesuits, etc.? Why do the rest of those guys get short shrift? Have rotted this country from the inside out and are the ones secretly pulling the strings and controlling the masses through the insidious infiltration of every politician, a political, corporate, military, medical, food, educational structure. They have 7 meetings every week in a secret lodge near you. I can drive 7 minutes from my home and end up at multiple lodges in all different locations. Who do you think is really calling the shots? Who do you think killed JFK? You didn't talk about the possible, I don't know, Zionists, right? And so I wonder why that didn't come up. And the person, I'm looking at the person's channel, and he doesn't have any videos talking about this. He's got other things. But anyways, who's to say? I guess he has some of these. You know, like what I do here, which is something that you don't hear from other truthers about how you have to rise up. Like, why do you focus on the lowest people, the worst people? Because they control the materialistic world. You know, a woman approached Master Chargy years and years ago, complained about, why does God let this happen? Why does God run the world this way? And Chargy said to her, wait, you think God's controlling this world, right? You think God's in charge of this? Because it's these human, man-made, corrupt systems. And so within that, you can rise above it by connecting to the divinity within you. And, the system is whatever it is. You're not going to change the system unless you change the people, unless the people change themselves, right? And you can only change yourself. So, like, if all of us are part of the problem, and we can cure that one part of the problem, which is us, and we can do that by becoming, having a relationship with the divinity within us. These things all make sense, right? I think they make sense to people. There's saints, like you think saints, there's been some saints and spiritual people. Have you ever met somebody you thought was a spiritual person that you're like, oh, that person's really great. That person's a wonderful spiritual person. Have you met anybody like that? The energy that they exude, and, they just make everybody feel better. They just pull up the atmosphere and the environment. And, the seismic system, you're cleaning the atmosphere and radiating this divine energy just based in your own spiritual practice. And you go into somebody's house that practices, and the energy in the house, then you turn it into this, ashram-like environment. It's like a, little sanctuary of heavenly energy there on planet Earth. And so, like, you can do that instead of fucking worried about these Freemasonic motherfuckers and the rest of them, right? Like, yeah, there are sucky people out there, and they are doing damage to the world, but that doesn't mean you have to get sucked into it. So there are some other ones here that I don't know if I covered. Somebody wrote this. So, in my video with Erica Kirk and Candace, the person writes, wait, hold on, that's not the character Kirk from the classist series Gilmore Girls? Yeah, it is. I didn't know who the person was, but somebody put that up as Charlie Kirk, but it wasn't. It was this guy Kirk, and I didn't watch that show, so I never saw it. I didn't know that this character exists, but I just threw it in there as a joke, right? Because I was trolling, because I could swear that looks like him from the episode where his girlfriend was set to be in a play for the Stars Hollow, and she got sick, so he filled in for her last minute, much to everyone's dismay and entertainment. Someone has probably already commented, but I had to throw that out there. I'm not a naysayer by any means. I don't trust any of these characters on the world stage. Yeah, I was just trolling, because of all the fucking weird and goofy shit. And I was trolling Candace Owens more than anybody else about how she just has limited information and pretends things are real. She does a deep dive on some people and then not on her sources and these other things. That was what that was all about. But anyways, yeah. That wasn't Charlie Kirk. That was just something. When I searched Charlie Kirk and drag, that's what came up. Anyways, all right, so let's wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paramano definitely pointing for the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.